Hey everyone, and welcome back to Mystic's Mind. Today, we're diving deep into a topic that floods social media feeds and group chats every few months. Mercury Retrograde. We're going to talk about why your life sometimes feels like a cosmic comedy of errors, why your keys seem to vanish into another dimension, your exes pop up like ghosts from the past, and your technology stages a full-scale rebellion. We've all been there, feeling that wave of frustration and exhaustion, looking up at the sky and just wanting to blame something for the chaos. Before we dive into the stars, if you're finding these insights helpful and this space feels like a sanctuary for your spirit, please take a moment to hit that like and subscribe button. It's such a simple act, but it truly helps this energy reach more people who might be feeling lost in their own chaos and are looking for a guiding light. And I always love to feel your energy in this space with me. So drop a comment below and tell me a question you're asking the universe right now. What answer are you seeking in this moment? All right, find a comfortable spot. Maybe grab a cup of tea. Take a deep, centering breath, and let's align our energy with the cosmos. So, let's talk about that feeling. You know the one. You wake up and the energy just feels off. You send a text to your partner that gets completely misinterpreted, leading to a tense, unnecessary argument before you've even had your coffee. You head to work, and the project file you spent all last week perfecting is suddenly corrupted. Your boss asks for a simple update, and you stumble over your words, feeling like you can't articulate a single coherent thought. You get home, defeated, and decide to order takeout, only for the delivery driver to go to the wrong address. You throw your hands up in the air and say, "Of course, Mercury is in retrograde." It's become our modern-day cosmic scapegoat. It's an easy, digestible, and strangely comforting explanation for why things go haywire. It gives us a shared experience, a collective sigh of, "It's not just me, and there is a truth to it." Transits like Mercury retrograde do cast a collective, energetic weather pattern over all of us. The themes of review, reflection, and reevaluation are real. Communication can get fuzzy, travel plans can go awry, and technology can get glitchy. But here's the secret, the thing we don't talk about enough. It doesn't affect everyone the same way. Have you ever noticed that? You might be having a week where it feels like your entire life is imploding. Every conversation is a minefield, and you can't trust a single device you own. Meanwhile, your best friend is just experiencing a few minor email delays and finds an old, forgotten journal, having a rather nostalgic and insightful time. Why the dramatic difference? Why is your retrograde experience a 5-alarm fire, while theirs is just a gentle, flickering candle? This is where we move beyond the memes and into the heart of your personal power. The reason your experience is so unique, so potent, and so you is because that retrograde, or any transit for that matter, is not the source of the chaos. It's the trigger. It's the celestial finger that comes down from the heavens and pings a very specific, pre-existing, and deeply personal pattern that already lives within you. The principle I want you to hold on to as we begin this journey is this. The universe doesn't create your specific chaos. It reveals the chaos that's already encoded within you, waiting for a catalyst. Blaming the planet is like blaming the rain for revealing the leak in your roof. The rain didn't create the hole was already there. The rain simply showed you where you need to do the work. Let's imagine your personal energy system. Your soul's blueprint is like an intricate electrical circuit board. It has its own wiring, its own pathways, its own sensitivities, and even a few areas where the wires are a bit frayed or the connection is a little loose. When Mercury goes retrograde, it sends a specific frequency of energy through the collective field. If that frequency happens to match one of your frayed wires, say, a sensitive point in your chart related to communication in your career, or your self-worth in relationships, you're going to get a short circuit. You're going to see sparks. Meanwhile, your friend, whose circuit board is wired completely differently, might not have any sensitive spots that resonate with that exact frequency. The energy just flows right on by without incident. So, the problem isn't Mercury. The invitation is to look at your own circuit board. The frustration you feel when you miscommunicate with your boss isn't new. The retrograde just turned up the volume on a pre-existing fear of not being heard or valued professionally. The argument with your partner didn't come from nowhere. It likely activated a recurring pattern of feeling misunderstood in your intimate connections. The tech glitches aren't just random acts of cosmic malice. They are external manifestations of an internal feeling of being out of control or frustrated with the details of your daily life. By continually pointing our finger at that little planet, we are participating in a subtle but profound act of disempowerment. We are saying, "I am a victim to the sky. I have no control. I just have to wait this out." But the universe is never asking you to be a victim. It is always inviting you into a deeper conversation with yourself. It's using these transits as a highlighter pen, drawing your attention to the exact passages in your own soul's story that are ready to be reread, re-edited, and re-understood. So, For the rest of our time together today, we're going to gently set aside the blame. We're going to stop pointing our finger at Mercury and start turning our gaze inward with curiosity and compassion. We are going to explore the hidden algorithm of your personal chaos because it's not random. It has a pattern, a rhythm, and a reason. And once you begin to understand that algorithm, you stop being a victim of it and you start becoming the conscious coder of your own life. This brings me to our first question for self-reflection. I want you to take a moment and think back over the last few times you felt that sense of overwhelming chaos, whether it was during a retrograde or not. Look past the surface level events. Thought-provoking question. Beyond the frustration, what is the consistent emotional theme of the chaos that keeps showing up in your life? If you had to give your personal brand of chaos a name, like the misunderstanding, the unseen effort, or the sudden setback, what would it be? Sit with that. Don't judge it, just observe it. Give it a name, because in naming it, you begin to see it not as a random attacker, but as a familiar messenger. And in our next section, we're going to begin decoding what that messenger is trying to tell you. So, you've given a name to your personal brand of chaos. You've acknowledged it not as a random series of unfortunate events, but as a messenger with a consistent theme. In that single act of recognition, you have already taken a giant leap out of victimhood and into conscious awareness. Now, let's pull the curtain back a little further. Let's look at the system that keeps sending that very specific messenger to your door. This is what I call your personal celestial algorithm. I use the word algorithm very intentionally. In our modern world, we understand algorithms as sets of rules or calculations used to solve problems and run operations, especially by a computer. They are the invisible architecture behind the technology we use every day, determining what we see, how we connect, and what information we receive. Your soul has a similar kind of architecture. Your natal chart, that snapshot of the sky at the precise moment you took your first breath, is the source code for your energetic operating system. It is a complex, deeply intelligent, and interconnected program designed for one primary purpose: your soul's evolution. Let's break this metaphor down. Think of the planets in your chart: the Sun, the Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, and so on as the core functions or applications within your operating system. Your Sun is the primary processor, the CPU that determines your core identity and purpose. Your Moon is the emotional RAM, storing your memories, running your instinctual reactions, and defining what makes you feel secure. Your Mercury is your internal messaging system and search engine, governing how you process and share data. Now, the zodiac signs that these planets are in, that's the specific version of the software you're running. A Mars function running on the Aries operating system is going to be fast, direct, and assertive. It initiates action with fire and passion. But if you run that same Mars function on the Libra operating system, it's going to operate very differently. It will be programmed to seek balance, two-way options, to act with diplomacy, and to initiate through partnership. The core function is the same action and drive, but its expression, its user interface is completely different. This is why generic sun sign astrology can feel so limiting, and why so many people say, "I'm a Leo, but I'm not a show-off," or "I'm a Capricorn, but I'm not obsessed with work." That's because you're not just your sun sign. You are not just one single program. You are the entire intricate algorithm. The Sun is just one, albeit very important, line of code. Let's use that Leo example. Imagine two people, both born with their Sun in Leo. Person A embodies the archetype we all know. They are warm, charismatic, they love to be the center of attention, and they express themselves creatively and joyfully. Their personal algorithm might have their Leo Sun placed in their 5th house of creativity and performance, and it might be receiving a harmonious trine aspect from Jupiter, the planet of expansion and good fortune. Their code essentially says, if self-expression, and expand with joy, it's a smooth, easy operation. Their path to shining their light is clear and supported by the rest of their programming. Now, let's look at person B, also a Leo Sun. But this person is more reserved, perhaps a bit shy, and their creativity comes out in more private or service-oriented ways. They might feel a deep, burning need to be seen and recognized, but they also have a profound fear of it. Their personal algorithm is different. Their Leo Sun might be in the 12th house of spirituality, hidden things, and self-undoing. And perhaps it's receiving a challenging square aspect from Saturn, the planet of restriction and self-doubt. Their code looks more like this. If self-expression, triggers Saturn_restriction_protocol, every time they try to step into the spotlight, another part of their own program activates to question their authority, to bring up fears of not being good enough, to remind them of their responsibilities. The core Leonine drive is still there, but it has to navigate a much more complex and challenging internal landscape. Are you starting to see? The chaos you experience, the patterns you named in our last section, are not punishments. They are the result of these challenging aspects, the squares, the oppositions in your code. They are the points of friction. But in computer programming and in soul evolution, friction isn't a mistake. It's a feature, not a bug. These are the parts of your algorithm designed to generate the most growth. They are the complex problems your soul chose to solve in this lifetime, because in solving them, you build new capacities. You learn to hold tension, to integrate opposites, to innovate and find creative solutions. Your triumphs, on the other hand, the areas of life where you feel you're in a state of flow, where things just seem to work. Those are your trines and sextiles, the harmonious aspects. They are the parts of your algorithm that run smoothly, the innate gifts and talents that are programmed to function with ease. Understanding your algorithm means learning to lean on these easy-flowing parts of your code when you are actively working on debugging the more challenging parts. So, when Mercury goes retrograde and you have a massive communication breakdown at work, it's because the retrograde's energy is pinging your unique Mercury_in_Aquarius_the_10th_house_square_Mars code. It's activating a program that is inherently about tension between radical ideas and impulsive action in your career. It's not a random event. It's a predictable output based on your specific input. The most beautiful thing about viewing yourself in this way is that it removes the judgment. You are not bad at relationships. You simply have a Venus-Pluto square in your algorithm that is designed to teach you profound lessons about power, intimacy, and transformation through connection. You are not lazy or unmotivated. You might have a Mars-Neptune square that is programmed to explore the complexities of spiritual drive versus worldly action. This algorithm is the map of the curriculum your soul designed for you. And the first step to mastering any curriculum is to simply read the syllabus. To understand the layout of the lessons ahead, this brings us to our next point of reflection. I want you to start thinking about the purpose of your personal chaos pattern, not just the pain of it. Look at the theme you named earlier through this new lens. Thought-provoking question. If your life's recurring challenges were a piece of software, what would its primary function be? Is it designed to test your resilience, teach you patience, push you toward vulnerability, or maybe strengthen your voice? Don't rush the answer. Think about the outcome of the chaos. After the storm passes, what new strength or insight do you find you possess, even if it's buried under the rubble? The function of the program is revealed in the result it consistently produces within you. As we start to unpack this idea of a personal celestial algorithm, you might feel a little bit of resistance bubbling up. A question may be forming in the back of your mind, a quiet but persistent whisper. If my patterns and challenges are all written in this cosmic code, then what's the point? Am I just a puppet on a string? Is my entire life fated? This is a profoundly important question, and it gets to the very heart of the spiritual journey and the true purpose of astrology. I want to be unequivocally clear about this. Your chart is not a life sentence. It is a life assignment. There is a monumental difference between fate and energetic probability. Fate suggests a rigid, unchangeable script, a story where every line has been written for you and you are merely an actor reciting them. It implies that no matter what you do, the outcome is fixed. But the universe is far more intelligent, creative, and collaborative than that. Your natal chart is not a script. It is a weather map of your soul. It shows the innate climate of your inner world, where the sunny spots are, where there are likely to be emotional storms, where the ground is fertile for growth, and where the terrain might be rocky and difficult to navigate. The main principle to grasp here is that your algorithm maps out your energetic tendencies, not your determined destiny. You cannot change the weather. If your chart indicates a high probability of intense emotional squalls, say you have a powerful Moon-Pluto aspect too, cannot simply decide to have a life devoid of emotional intensity. That weather pattern is part of your inner climate. However, you have complete and total free will in how you respond to that weather. You can learn to read the clouds. You can build a sturdy shelter. You can learn to dance in the rain. You can become an expert navigator of the very seas that once threatened to overwhelm you. Or, you can stand outside without a jacket, shaking your fist at the sky and wondering why you're always getting struck by lightning. The weather is the probability. Your response is your choice. This is the beautiful paradox of free will within a structured energetic system. The planets do not compel you. They impel you. They create a pressure, a pull, a suggestion. A challenging Mars-Saturn aspect, for example, creates an internal pressure cooker of frustration where your desire to act Mars feels constantly blocked or restricted Saturn. The default or unconscious path of least resistance is to lash out in anger, to give up in a state of defeat, or to turn that frustration inward as depression. This is the energetic probability. But your consciousness, your awareness, creates a sacred pause between the feeling of frustration and your reaction to it. In that pause, you have the power to choose. You can choose to channel that intense energy into disciplined, long-term effort. You can use it to build something slow and steady. You can develop incredible patience and resilience. The energy is the same. The outcome is transformed by your conscious choice. Let's use a metaphor. Imagine your life's curriculum, say. The core lesson is about learning unconditional self-worth is a destination you're trying to reach. Your natal chart is the car you've been given for the journey and the map of the territory you need to cross. Now, there are two ways to make this journey. The unconscious driver gets in the car and puts it on autopilot. They don't look at the map. They just let the car's default programming run the show. The map clearly shows a road ahead with massive potholes. Let S say that S a tough Saturn-Venus square representing challenges to self-worth in relationships. The unconscious driver, running on autopilot, drives straight into every single one. They blow a tire, they damage their axle, and they blame the road, the car, the other drivers, everyone but their own lack of awareness. They get stuck in repetitive traffic jams, ending up in the same kinds of relationships that reinforce their feelings of unworthiness, wondering why they never seem to make any progress. They are, for all intents and purposes, a victim of the journey. Now consider the conscious driver. They have the exact same car and the exact same map. But before they start the engine, they study the map. They see the warning about the road with the potholes. They acknowledge it. So, when they approach that stretch of road, they are awake and alert at the wheel. They slow down. They skillfully maneuver around the worst of the damage. Maybe they decide to take a scenic detour that the map also shows, a longer but smoother road representing a path of conscious healing or self-development. They listen to the transit forecasts, the cosmic equivalent of a traffic report, and they adjust their route accordingly. Does their journey still have challenges? Absolutely. But they are not a victim of them. They are an active, engaged participant in their own navigation. Their experience of the journey is one of empowerment, skill building, and presence. Both drivers have the same energetic probability of hitting those potholes. Only one experiences it as an inevitability. The other experiences it as information to be used for making a better choice. Your level of consciousness is the driver at the wheel. Astrology, at its best, is the practice of studying your map so you can become a more conscious driver. So when you look at the difficult parts of your chart, the parts that produce your personal chaos, I want you to stop seeing them as curses. See them as the most interesting parts of your map. They are the mountain passes, the river crossings, the desert stretches that will demand the most of you, and in return, will reward you with the most strength, wisdom, and character. They are the places where your soul will truly learn to drive. Let's bring this back to your own lived experience. Because you have already been a conscious driver, whether you knew it or not. You have already used your free will to navigate your algorithm. Thought-provoking question? Think about a major turning point in your past that felt challenging. In what small way did your conscious choice, however difficult at the moment, alter the default path you felt you were on? Maybe the default path was to stay in a relationship that wasn't right for you, but you made the hard choice to leave. Maybe the default path was to stay silent, but you chose to speak your truth. Maybe the default was to give up on a dream after a setback, but you chose to try one more time. Find that moment in your memory. Feel the power of that choice. That is the feeling of your free will working in beautiful collaboration with your soul's design. That is the proof that you are not fated. You are navigating. You've sat with that feeling of making a conscious choice, of taking the wheel of your own life and steering, even just slightly, away from the default path. In that moment, you felt your power. You felt your agency. Now, let's get to know the engine that powers that vehicle. To be a truly effective driver of your own life, you need to understand the source of your energy, your vitality, and your direction. We need to talk about the heart of your personal celestial algorithm, your sun. In the vast, intricate code of your natal chart, your sun is the core processor. It is the central processing unit, the CPU, around which every other function and program revolves, just as all the planets in our solar system orbit the actual sun, drawing light and life from its fiery core. All the other placements in your chart are organized around and energized by your natal sun. It represents your fundamental identity, your conscious will, your life force, and the unique light you came here to shine into the world. If your algorithm is a sentence that describes your soul's journey, your sun sign is the primary verb. It is the action, the doing, the being that drives the entire narrative forward. When you feel lost, lethargic, or lacking a sense of purpose, it is almost always a sign that you have become disconnected from your sun's energy. It's like trying to run your entire complex operating system on a low power mode or with a faulty battery. The lights flicker, programs crash, and the whole system becomes slow and inefficient. This is a profound source of personal chaos. The loud, dramatic chaos of a Mercury retrograde, but a quieter, more insidious chaos of purposelessness. It's the chaos that comes from not knowing who you are or why you're here. The sign your sun is in describes the style or the flavor of the light you are here to shine. It is the specific archetype your soul is working to embody in this lifetime. An Aries sun is here to shine the light of courage and initiative. A Cancer sun is here to shine the light of nurturing and emotional intelligence. A Libra sun is here to shine the light of harmony and justice. A Scorpio sun is here to shine the light of transformation and depth. Your sun sign provides the core instructions for how you can most effectively generate your own life force. When you act in accordance with these instructions, your energy increases. When you act against them, you feel drained. Let's make this tangible. Consider a universal human endeavor, the quest to build a meaningful career. Now, let's watch how two different core processors would approach this task. First, we have someone with a sun in Taurus. The core programming of a Taurus sun is to build, to stabilize, to create tangible value, and to enjoy the sensory pleasures of the material world. This person will find their vitality, their solar charge, by methodically and patiently constructing a career that provides security and produces something real they can touch, see, or taste. They might be a chef, a landscape architect, a financial planner who builds wealth for others, or an artist who works with clay. Forcing this Taurus sun into a fast-paced, unstable career built on abstract ideas and constant change would create immense internal chaos. It would be a fundamental violation of their core code, leaving them feeling insecure, ungrounded, and deeply unhappy, no matter how much external success they achieved. Now, let's look at someone with a sun in Gemini. The core programming of a Gemini sun is to connect, to communicate, to learn, and to experience variety. Their vitality comes from the exchange of information and ideas. This person will thrive in a career that is mentally stimulating and allows them to wear many hats. They might be a journalist, a teacher, a social media manager, a consultant who juggles multiple projects, or a salesperson who loves connecting with new people every day. Now, can you imagine placing this Gemini sun in that slow, methodical, repetitive job that the Taurus sun might love? It would be soul-crushing. The lack of stimulation, the monotony, the absence of new information would completely drain their solar battery. They would feel bored, restless, and trapped. Their personal chaos would manifest as a desperate need to escape their circumstances. Do you see? The job isn't inherently good or bad. The chaos arises from the incompatibility of the external reality with the internal, non-negotiable need of the sun. So much of our suffering comes from trying to shine our light in a way that is unnatural to us. Often, because of family expectations, societal pressures, or our own mistaken ideas of what we should be. You cannot expect a sunflower to thrive in the shade, and you cannot expect a fern to thrive in the blazing sun. The first step in stopping the chaos is to know what kind of plant you are and to deliberately place yourself in the right environment. Connecting with your sun's energy is an active daily practice. It's about consciously choosing thoughts, actions, and environments that align with your core code. For a Virgo sun, it might be as simple as organizing a cluttered drawer. For a Sagittarius sun, it's planning a future trip or learning something new. For a Leo sun, it's finding a healthy outlet for your creativity and allowing yourself to be seen. Honoring your sun is not an act of ego, it is an act of service. The world needs your specific flavor of light. Hiding it, dimming it, or trying to pretend it's a different color doesn't serve anyone, least of all yourself. It just creates a power drain in your own algorithm that leads to stagnation and discontent. You are here to be unapologetically you. So let's figure out what that feels like in its purest form. I want you to look beyond your career, your family roles, and all the labels you carry. We're looking for the raw, undiluted energy of your core processor at work. Thought-provoking question: regardless of what you do for a living or what roles you play, what is the one activity that makes you feel most alive, most yourself, and most radiant? In what moments do you forget about time? The answer might be hiking in the mountains, solving a complex puzzle, hosting a dinner for friends, getting lost in a piece of music, or playing with your children. Whatever it is, that activity is a direct portal to your sun's energy. It is your personal solar charging station. The feeling it gives you is the feeling you are meant to cultivate in all areas of your life. It is the first clue to decoding the rest of your algorithm. You've identified that activity, that sacred space and time where you feel fully alive and radiant, where you are plugged directly into your solar charging station. This is the feeling of your conscious will, your identity, your core processor running at peak efficiency. But if your sun is the brilliant visible star at the center of your inner solar system, there is another celestial body of equal power, one that governs the tides of your inner world, your moods, your instincts, and your deepest sense of belonging. If the sun is the king of your inner kingdom, the conscious ruler who sets the direction, then we must now turn our attention to the queen. We must talk about your moon, in the language of your personal algorithm. Your moon is your emotional operating system, or your EO. This is a powerful and primary program that runs constantly in the background of your consciousness. It was coded in your earliest moments of life, governing your instincts, your habits, and your automatic reactions. Before your conscious sun even has time to analyze a situation and decide how to act, your subconscious moon has already felt how to react. It is the raw, unfiltered data of your feeling nature. It is your gut instinct that shiver down your spine, that sudden wave of emotion that seems to come from nowhere. Your moon represents your inner child. It holds your memories, your vulnerabilities, and, most importantly, your fundamental needs. While your sun wants to shine and achieve, your moon simply wants to be safe, secure, and nurtured. The sign your moon is in describes the specific environmental conditions that your EOS requires to feel safe. This is non-negotiable. You can't use willpower to convince a fish it should feel safe in the desert. Similarly, you cannot use your conscious sun to rationalize away the core needs of your moon. Much of our most persistent and confusing personal chaos stems from a direct conflict between what our conscious sun wants to do and what our subconscious moon needs to feel okay. When these two forces are at war, your entire system experiences a deep and unsettling schism. Let's imagine a person named Alex. Alex has their sun in fiery, assertive, independent Aries. Their conscious identity, their king, wants to conquer. They are driven to be a pioneer, an entrepreneur, to win, to be the first and the best. Their solar purpose is tied up in action, courage, and blazing a trail. But Alex's moon, their subconscious queen, is in gentle, sensitive, security-seeking Cancer. The Cancer emotional operating system is programmed for one primary directive: create safety. It needs a comfortable home, deep emotional bonds, a sense of family and belonging, and plenty of quiet time to process its powerful feelings. So, Alex, driven by their Aries sun, builds a life that looks successful on the outside. They start a demanding business, work 80-hour weeks, travel constantly, and thrive on the adrenaline of competition. Their solar king is getting exactly what it wants. But internally, Alex is a mess. They are plagued by anxiety, they burn out constantly, and they feel a deep, aching loneliness they can't explain. After a huge victory at work, they might come home and feel inexplicably sad and empty. This is their Cancer moon, their EOS, sending up massive error messages. It's flashing red alerts on the dashboard. Danger, emotional needs not met. Security compromised. Retreat to shell immediately. The chaos Alex experiences isn't because they are weak or not cut out for success. The chaos is the direct result of their conscious actions being in profound opposition to their subconscious needs. The Aries king is trying to lead a charge across an open battlefield, while the Cancer queen is desperately trying to pull the entire kingdom back inside the castle walls and lock the gates. To resolve this chaos, Alex doesn't need to abandon their Aries ambition. That would just starve the sun and create a different kind of problem. The solution lies in integration. Alex needs to become a conscious ruler who listens to the wisdom of both their king and their queen. They need to build a life where their Aries, sun, and Cancer moon can work in partnership. Perhaps they build their business from a beautiful home office that feels like a sanctuary. Perhaps the business itself has a nurturing component. They must learn to schedule downtime and solitude as non-negotiable appointments in their calendar. They need to consciously cultivate a small work family of trusted allies, rather than just a network of contacts. By honoring their moon's need for security, they provide a stable foundation from which their sun can safely and sustainably go out and conquer. The chaos subsides when the inner conflict is resolved. Your own moon sign holds the key to your emotional well-being. A moon in Gemini needs to talk things out and understand them logically to feel safe. A moon in Capricorn needs to feel competent, respected, and useful. A moon in Pisces needs solitude and time to connect with art, spirit, or nature to wash away the emotional residue of the world. Denying these needs is a form of self-abandonment. It's telling your inner child that its needs don't matter, and an abandoned inner child will eventually throw a tantrum. That tantrum is often the emotional chaos you experience in your adult life. Learning the language of your moon is a radical act of self-love. It's about giving yourself permission to have the needs you have without judgment. So, let's tune into that quiet, instinctual part of you. Let's listen for the whisper of your EOS. Thought-provoking question. When you are stressed, overwhelmed, or depleted, what is the one thing you instinctively do or crave to feel safe and comforted again? What is your non-negotiable requirement for feeling at home in your own skin? Maybe you crave a long walk in nature, a hot bath, a conversation with your best friend, organizing your closet, or getting lost in a spreadsheet. Pay attention to that instinct. It is your moon telling you exactly what it needs to reset your system and bring you back to a state of emotional equilibrium. This is not a weakness or an indulgence. It is your personal user manual for profound and lasting self-care. You are beginning to understand the sacred dialogue between your sun and moon, the king and queen of your inner world. You know the importance of honoring your conscious drive to shine your sun while simultaneously tending to the deep, Instinctual needs of your emotional body, your moon. Now, we must introduce the character who negotiates between these two great powers. The one who translates the needs of the queen into language the king can understand, and who broadcasts the king's proclamations to the wider world. We need to talk about the divine messenger of your algorithm, the software that processes your thoughts and shapes your words. We need to talk about your personal Mercury. In your celestial algorithm, Mercury is your communication protocol. It's the intricate software that governs all the input and output of information. On the input side, it determines how you learn, how you listen, and how you perceive the world through your 5 senses. It's the lens through which you gather data. On the output side, it governs how you speak, write, and express the contents of your mind. It's the interface you use to connect with others and share what you know. It is quite literally how you make sense of the world and how you attempt to make sense to others. The sign your Mercury is in defines the specific style of this protocol. A Mercury programmed in the sign of Taurus, for example, processes information slowly, deliberately, and through a practical, grounded lens. It learns by doing and trusts what is tangible and real. A Mercury programmed in the sign of Aquarius, on the other hand, processes information in lightning-fast, non-linear flashes of insight. It learns through abstract concepts and is wired for innovation and unconventional ideas. Neither is smarter than the other. Their processing systems are just designed for entirely different tasks. Here is a crucial insight. Much of the chaos we universally blame on Mercury retrograde is actually a permanent, built-in feature of our own personal Mercury being put under pressure. The misunderstandings, the arguments, the missed connections, these are often just heightened examples of the communication challenges our specific Mercury protocol faces every single day. The retrograde simply acts as a stress test on the system, revealing the existing weaknesses. When you understand your own Mercury, you can anticipate these challenges and build more resilient communication habits that serve you all the time, not just during those tricky 3-week periods. Let's see this in action. Imagine 2 people in a partnership are trying to resolve a conflict, say, a disagreement about their financial future. The first person has their Mercury in Scorpio. The Scorpio communication protocol is designed for depth, psychological insight, and radical honesty. It is a submarine, built to withstand immense pressure and explore the darkest, deepest waters to find the hidden truth. This person will approach the conflict with intensity, asking probing questions to get to the emotional root of the issue. For them, the numbers on the spreadsheet are secondary to the underlying fears, desires, and power dynamics at play. They want to know, what are you really afraid of here? Now, their partner has their Mercury in Libra. The Libra communication protocol is designed for harmony, diplomacy, and balance. It is a finely calibrated scale, built to weigh all sides of an issue and find a fair, elegant solution that creates the least amount of friction. This person will approach the same conflict by trying to create a calm atmosphere for discussion. They will use tactful language, acknowledge their partner's point of view, and focus on finding a mutually agreeable compromise. For them, intense emotional confrontation feels like a failure of the process. It throws the scales wildly out of balance. Can you see the potential for chaos? The Scorpio Mercury in its deep-sea submarine perceives the Libra Mercury's diplomatic scales as superficial, evasive, and perhaps even dishonest. Why won't you just get to the real point? Why are you avoiding the issue? They might think. Meanwhile, the Libra Mercury feels like it's being interrogated and attacked. The Scorpio's intensity feels aggressive, unnecessarily dramatic, and completely disruptive to the harmony they are trying to create. Why are you making this so difficult? Can't we just be reasonable? They might plead. They are not just disagreeing about money. They are experiencing a fundamental incompatibility in their communication software. Their protocols are clashing. The real problem isn't the topic. It's the fact that one person is trying to have a conversation in a submarine, while the other is trying to have it on a delicate balancing beam. Without awareness, this conversation will likely end in a painful stalemate, with both parties feeling completely misunderstood and unseen. The path to resolution isn't about one person winning the argument. It's about both of them recognizing that they are running different software. The Scorpio Mercury can learn to soften its probing, and the Libra Mercury can learn to tolerate a bit more intensity for the sake of true resolution. Your Mercury also defines how you think and learn. That voice in your head is your Mercury. Is it a practical, methodical planner, Mercury in Capricorn? Is it an optimistic storyteller who thinks in big pictures, Mercury in Sagittarius? Is it a compassionate poet who thinks in images and feelings, Mercury in Pisces? Learning to work with this inner narrator instead of judging it is a key to mental peace. It also holds the secret to how you best integrate new knowledge. If you have Mercury in an earth sign, you need to get your hands dirty. If it's in an air sign, you need to talk and debate. In a water sign, you need to feel an emotional connection to the material. In a fire sign, you need to be inspired and see how it connects to a greater purpose. Let's get curious about your own unique wiring. Thought-provoking question. How do you best process new information to truly understand it? Do you need to talk it out with someone, write it down in a journal, build a physical model of it, or connect it to a grand philosophical idea? Think about a time you had to learn something complex. What was the aha moment for you? What action or process finally made it click? The answer is a direct clue to the design of your personal Mercury protocol. Honoring that process is the key to becoming a more effective learner, a clearer communicator, and a more integrated thinker. It allows you to stop fighting your own mind and start using it with the effortless skill for which it was designed. You now have a deeper appreciation for your own Mercury protocol, the unique way your mind processes information and communicates its truth to the world. Understanding this is fundamental to being heard and to understanding others, but communication is only the first step. Once the lines of communication are open, how do we create connection? How do we build bridges of affection and understanding? How do we decide what and who we value? For the answers to these questions, we must turn to the celestial goddess of love, beauty, and worth, the part of your algorithm that determines what makes life sweet. We must explore your Venus. In your personal celestial algorithm, Venus is your value and connection matrix. This is a sophisticated and essential piece of programming with two primary interconnected functions. The first function is to define your personal value system. Venus dictates what you find beautiful, what brings you pleasure, and what you consider to be worthy of your time, energy, and resources. This isn't just about your taste in art or music. It's about your core ethics and the aesthetic that makes your soul feel harmonious. This function of your algorithm directly governs your relationship with money and abundance. As you will always invest your resources in what your Venus truly values, the second function is to define your connection protocol. Venus is the software that runs your relationships. It describes your innate love language, how you are programmed to both give and receive affection. It determines what you need in a partnership to feel valued, cherished, and seen. It also governs your powers of attraction. Your Venus is the source of your personal magnetism, the unique charm you radiate that draws people and experiences toward you. A tremendous amount of personal chaos, particularly in the realms of love and finance, erupts when you are living out of alignment with your Venusian programming. You might chase a career that makes you a lot of money, only to feel a soul-crushing emptiness because the work itself violates the core values of your Venus. You could find yourself in a partnership that everyone else tells you is perfect, yet you feel lonely and unloved because your specific relational needs are not being met. This deep internal dissonance, this feeling that your life lacks beauty and genuine connection, is your Venus matrix sending you a critical error message? Warning: core values are being violated. Pleasure and connection levels are dangerously low. Let's watch how this matrix operates in a real-world relationship. Imagine a couple, Maria and Leo. Maria has her Venus in the practical, earthy sign of Virgo. For Maria, the Venusian matrix is coded with the values of usefulness, devotion, and refinement. She experiences and expresses love through acts of service and thoughtful attention to detail. Her love language is doing things that make her partner's life better and more orderly. She feels valued when her practical efforts are noticed and appreciated. Her partner, Leo, has his Venus in the adventurous, expansive fire sign of Sagittarius. His Venusian matrix is coded with the values of freedom, growth, and shared experience. He experiences and expresses love through grand gestures, philosophical conversations, and exploring the world together. His love language is spontaneity and mutual discovery. He feels valued when his partner is enthusiastic about his big ideas and willing to jump into a new adventure with him. Now, both Maria and Leo love each other deeply, but their clashing Venusian protocols create recurring chaos. Leo, wanting to show his love, spontaneously books expensive, non-refundable tickets for a weekend trip to a country they've never visited. He presents it to Maria with a grand, joyful flourish. But Maria's Venus in Virgo system immediately goes into high alert. She sees the disruption to their schedule, the practical cost, the lack of a detailed itinerary. To her, this grand gesture feels reckless and stressful, not loving. She might react with anxiety or criticism, which makes Leo feel that his love is being rejected and his adventurous spirit is being judged. Conversely, Maria, wanting to show her love, spends an entire Saturday meticulously organizing Leo's chaotic home office and creating a detailed budget to help them save for the future. She presents it to him as a profound act of devotion, but Leo's Venus and Sagittarius system feels trapped and suffocated. He sees his creative chaos being tamed, his freedom being restricted by spreadsheets. To him, this practical gesture feels like criticism, as if she's trying to manage him rather than love him. Maria then feels that her loving efforts are unappreciated and taken for granted. Their chaos has nothing to do with a lack of love. It has everything to do with a lack of understanding of each other's core values and connection protocols. The path to harmony for them is to become bilingual in each other's Venusian language. Maria can learn to see Leo's grand gestures as the highest expression of his loving, adventurous heart. And Leo can learn to see Maria's acts of service, not as criticism, but as the deepest, most tangible proof of her devotion. When you align your life with your Venus, you become naturally magnetic. You are no longer chasing love or abundance. You are attracting it by embodying your most authentic values. If you have Venus in Taurus, you cultivate your magnetism through sensuality, stability, and appreciating the simple pleasures. If you have Venus in Aquarius, you do it through celebrating your uniqueness and connecting with others over shared ideals. Honoring your Venus is an act of beautifying your own life, which in turn makes you beautiful to the world. So, let's tap into your own matrix of value and pleasure. Moving past what you think you should value and connecting with what brings your soul a sense of richness. Thought-provoking question. Beyond your basic survival needs, what is one thing you are willing to spend your time, energy, or money on without guilt, simply for the pure pleasure and beauty of it? What does that choice reveal about what you truly value? Maybe it's high-quality, organic food. Maybe it's books, concert tickets, travel to a new place, a donation to a cause you believe in, or a beautifully crafted piece of furniture. Whatever it is, that choice is a pure signal from your Venus. It's a signpost pointing directly to the heart of what makes life feel worthwhile and beautiful to you. Following that signpost is the key to creating a life that doesn't just look good, but feels wonderful. You've taken a moment to connect with your Venus to honor the things you are willing to invest in, simply for the pleasure and beauty they bring to your life. In that, you have affirmed your own value and worthiness. But knowing what you value, knowing what you find beautiful, knowing who and what you desire, that is only the first part of the creative equation. A desire without action is just a dream. A value without the courage to defend it is merely an opinion. So, how do you take the beautiful desires of your Venus and make them real in the world? How do you pursue your sun's purpose with vitality and courage? For that, we must call upon the sacred warrior, the divine engine of your celestial algorithm. We must talk about Mars. If Venus is your magnetic system of attraction, Mars is your engine of action. In your personal algorithm, Mars is your action initiative protocol. It is the go button. It is the raw energy that fuels your ambition, your drive, and your courage. It governs not only the nature of your instinctual desires, your passions, your ambitions, your raw life force, but also the specific way you are designed to pursue them. The sign your Mars is in describes the style of your inner warrior and the strategy it naturally employs to conquer obstacles and achieve its goals. Understanding and cultivating a healthy relationship with your Mars energy is absolutely essential for your vitality. A mismanaged Mars is one of the most common sources of profound personal chaos. When you suppress your Mars energy, perhaps because you were taught that it was impolite to be assertive, that anger is a bad emotion, or that wanting things for yourself is selfish, that powerful energy doesn't simply vanish. It has to go somewhere. It turns inward, where it can curdle into depression, anxiety, and chronic fatigue. Or, it leaks out sideways in the form of passive aggression, sarcasm, and simmering resentment. This is the chaos of impotence, the feeling of being trapped and powerless. On the other hand, an unconscious Mars, one that is allowed to run the show without the wisdom of the other planets, can be equally destructive. This is the chaos of brute force, sun-controlled anger, reckless impulsivity, and a win-at-all-costs mentality that creates conflict, burns bridges, and ultimately leads to burnout. The goal then is not to suppress the warrior or to let it run rampant, but to become its conscious, skillful commander, directing its incredible power toward your highest goals and values. Let us see how different action protocols function when faced with the same objective. Securing a promotion at work, our first professional, Chloe, has her Mars in the fiery, pioneering sign of Aries. The Aries action protocol is coded for direct, courageous, and immediate action. Chloe's inner warrior is a sprinter designed to get off the starting block fast and run a straight line to the finish. To get the promotion, Chloe's Mars will compel her to march directly into her boss's office, state her accomplishments with confidence, and ask for what she wants without apology. Her energy is initiating, assertive, and thrives on the challenge. Now let's look at her colleague, David, who has his Mars in the diplomatic, partnership-oriented sign of Libra. The Libra action protocol is coded for strategy, fairness, and achieving goals through alliance. David's inner warrior is a master diplomat, not a frontline soldier. The idea of a direct solo confrontation with his boss feels crude, unbalanced, and deeply uncomfortable. It violates his core programming. Instead, David's Mars will compel him to pursue the promotion through a more strategic, indirect route. He will spend months building support among his colleagues, taking on a collaborative project where his value becomes undeniable, and using his charm and fairness to create a win-win scenario. He'll wait for the perfect, harmonious moment to make his request, likely after ensuring he has the support of key players. Here's where the chaos comes in. Imagine David is told by a mentor that he needs to be more aggressive and assertive. More like Chloe, if he tries to force his Libra Mars to act like an Aries Mars, the attempt will likely backfire spectacularly. He'll feel inauthentic, his energy will be awkward, and he may come across as passive-aggressive rather than assertive. It would create a storm of internal conflict because he is trying to run software his hardware was not designed for. Conversely, if Chloe is told to just be patient and play the game like David, she will feel like a caged tiger. Her powerful engine will be forced to idle, building up a massive reserve of frustration and resentment that could easily explode in an unproductive outburst later. The chaos is born from the misalignment of action and design. The key is to understand that David's strategic, diplomatic approach is just as powerful and effective for him as Chloe's direct approach is for her. True power comes from honoring the nature of your own engine. A crucial part of this is reframing your relationship with anger. Our culture has taught many of us to fear anger, to see it as a destructive, negative force. But pure anger is simply the sound of your Mars engine turning on. It is a sacred and vital messenger. It is the energy that rises up in you to say, a boundary has been crossed, a core value has been violated, or an injustice has occurred. Anger is the fuel for change. It gives you the power to say no, to protect yourself, and to fight for what is right. The challenge is to use that fuel consciously to power deliberate action rather than a destructive explosion. Let's connect with the feeling of this powerful, life-affirming energy within you. Thought-provoking question. Think about the last time you felt a surge of pure, healthy anger or passionate drive. What was the trigger, and what did that energy want you to do? How does your body tell you it's time to take action? Maybe you felt a fire in your belly, a tension in your jaw, a clarity in your mind. Maybe that energy wanted you to speak up, to walk away, to create something, or to protect someone. Tune into that physical sensation. That is the voice of your Mars. Learning to listen to it, to trust it, and to channel it with intention is the key to moving from a state of chaotic reaction to one of empowered, effective action. We've now been properly introduced to the 5 key players in your inner kingdom, the personal planets that form the core of your celestial algorithm. You have your Sun, the radiant king, providing purpose and vitality. You have your Moon, the intuitive queen, governing your emotional needs. You have Mercury, the swift messenger of your mind. You have Venus, the goddess of love and value. And you have Mars, the sacred warrior of action and desire. You can think of these as the main characters in the story of your life. But here is where the story gets truly interesting. These characters do not exist in isolation. They are not siloed off in different departments of your psyche. They are in constant, dynamic relationship with one another. They form alliances, they challenge each other, they support each other, and they blend their energies together in unique and powerful ways. The lines of relationship that connect the planets in your chart are called aspects. This is the sacred geometry of your soul. Aspects are the lines of code in your algorithm that say, when this planet is activated, it will always have a conversation with this other planet. They create the plot, the tension, and the ultimate resolution of your personal narrative. Today, we are going to start with the most powerful and fundamental aspect of all. We're going to explore the code of conjunctions. A conjunction happens when 2 or more planets are sitting in the exact same spot in the sky at the moment of your birth. They are so close together that their energies are not just in conversation, they are completely and irrevocably fused. Imagine you are installing 2 different software programs, but you install them into the exact same folder on your computer. They are forced to run as a single integrated program from that point forward. Or, picture 2 different colored spotlights aimed at the very same spot on a stage. They don't appear as 2 separate colors, but as a brand new third color, a unique blend of the original 2. This is what a conjunction does in your algorithm. It takes the distinct functions of 2 planets and merges them into a single, supercharged new function. From the moment you are born, you cannot express the energy of one of these planets without simultaneously expressing the energy of the other. This creates an incredible concentration of power in your personality and in one specific area of your life. But it also creates a kind of blind spot. Because these energies have always been intertwined for you, it can be incredibly difficult to see them as separate forces. To gain objectivity on how this powerful fusion operates in your life, the expression of a conjunction often runs on pure unconscious autopilot until you do the work to bring it into your conscious awareness. Let's use a very potent and common example, a Moon-Pluto conjunction. First, let's remember the individual energies. The Moon is your emotional operating system, your need for safety, security, comfort, and nurturing. It is your soft, vulnerable inner child. Pluto is the planet of power, transformation, intensity, the subconscious, and all that is hidden beneath the surface. It is the lord of the underworld, unafraid of the dark. Now, fuse them. When the moon and Pluto are conjunct, the deep-seated need for emotional security moon becomes completely merged with the Plutonian realm of power, intensity, and subconscious truth. This creates a person with staggering emotional depth. This is not someone who is content with surface-level feelings. Their emotional operating system is designed to dive deep, to feel everything, and to unearth the absolute truth of any situation. They have a built-in BS detector that is second to none, an almost psychic ability to sense what is really going on beneath the polite facade. They are emotionally resilient, capable of navigating the darkest of nights and emerging transformed. However, this same fusion has a shadow side when it operates unconsciously. The need for emotional safety becomes a need for emotional intensity. This person may feel that love isn't real unless it's dramatic and all-consuming. More profoundly, their sense of security becomes tied to being in control and to a fear of betrayal. Because they can feel everything, they can also feel the slightest hint of dishonesty, which can trigger a profound survival fear. This can lead to jealousy, suspicion, and unconscious power struggles in their closest relationships as they try to manage their partner's feelings to ensure their own safety. Imagine someone with this conjunction entering a new relationship. The connection they feel is likely instantaneous and incredibly deep, but almost as quickly, a subtle fear can creep in. They might find themselves scanning their partner's texts, analyzing their tone of voice, constantly probing for a hidden truth they are certain must be there. If their partner tells a small, innocent white lie say about why they were late, the Moon-Pluto person might experience this not as a minor foible, but as a catastrophic betrayal that threatens the very foundation of their emotional reality. The ensuing argument seems completely disproportionate to the event. But that's because for the Moon-Pluto person, the issue isn't about being 10 minutes late. It's a life or death test of emotional loyalty and power. The chaos they experience is this agonizing internal push and pull between their soul's deep desire to merge completely with another and their primal fear of being annihilated by them. The path to empowerment for this person is to consciously own their own emotional intensity. It's learning to recognize that their profound feelings are a feature of their design, not a flaw and not always a direct result of their partner's actions. It's about learning to trust their powerful intuition without letting it curdle into suspicion, and to find security within themselves rather than by trying to control the emotional world of another. This principle of fusion applies to any conjunction in your chart. A Venus-Saturn conjunction might fuse the need for love with the sense of duty and responsibility. A Mercury-Uranus conjunction can fuse communication with a need for rebellion and shocking truth. The key is to identify where these energies are merged in you, so you can begin to wield their combined power with intention, rather than being a victim of their unconscious expression. You don't need to have your chart in front of you to begin this inquiry. You know the landscape of your own inner world better than anyone. Thought-provoking question. Think about your own personality. Is there a place where two very different energies seem to be completely inseparable? For instance, do you find that your need for love Venus is always fused with your need for personal freedom Uranus? Or that your way of speaking Mercury is always intertwined with a deep sense of seriousness and discipline Saturn? Notice where in your life one function never seems to operate without the other. This is your first and most intuitive clue to finding these powerful, concentrated points of energy in your own unique and beautiful algorithm. You've now become acquainted with the creative friction of the square, that very internal stop-go dynamic where it feels like you're driving with one foot on the gas and one on the brake. That tension is designed to build inner strength and force you to create new solutions. Now, we're going to explore a different, and in some ways more perplexing, kind of tension. We're going to look at what happens when two planetary energies are positioned directly across the zodiac from each other in a 180-degree standoff. This is an energy that often doesn't feel like it's inside of us at all. It feels like it's happening to us through our relationships with others. We are going to gaze into the cosmic mirror of the opposition aspect. If a square is a point of internal friction, an opposition is a tug-of-war. Picture two of your inner characters standing on opposite sides of a vast field, each holding one end of a rope, pulling for dominance. They are in a state of polarity. They represent two equally valid, but seemingly contradictory needs within your personality. And because it's so difficult to consciously hold two opposing truths at the same time, our algorithm has a clever, if chaotic, workaround: projection. We tend to unconsciously identify with one side of the polarity, the planet we're more comfortable with, and we project the other end of the rope onto the people and situations we encounter in the outside world. Our partners, our rivals, our bosses, and even our heroes and villains become the living embodiment of the other half of ourselves. The main principle of the opposition is this: It is designed to teach you the art of balance and integration through the mirror of relationship. The universe will consistently bring you people who personify the qualities of your disowned planet, forcing you to confront that energy. The recurring chaos of an opposition is the chaos of relationship drama, of feeling perpetually locked in a struggle with an other who seems to be everything you are not. The journey to mastery lies in realizing that the person at the other end of the rope is not your enemy. They are a reflection of a vital part of you that you have sent into exile. The goal isn't for one side to win the tug-of-war, but for you to learn how to stand gracefully in the center, holding the tension of both truths at once. Let's see how this plays out with a Mars-Neptune opposition. Here we have the ultimate polarity between action and surrender. Mars is the warrior, direct, assertive, focused, and driven to make things happen in the concrete material world. Neptune is the mystic, passive, imaginative, spiritual, and driven to dissolve boundaries and merge with the intangible world of dreams and spirit. Now, meet Michael, who has this opposition in his chart. He feels a constant pull between these two extremes. One part of him, his Mars, wants to create a detailed plan, build a business, and take decisive, practical action. The other part, his Neptune, wants to meditate, trust the flow of the universe, and escape the harsh realities of the material world through art, fantasy, or spirituality. The unconscious way this often plays out is in a chaotic swing between the two. Michael might get a brilliant, divinely inspired idea for a new project Neptune. He'll then switch into Mars mode, working furiously for a week, full of drive and ambition. But the moment he hits a real-world obstacle or a mundane, boring task, his Neptune pole gets activated. He suddenly feels overwhelmed, disillusioned, and his energy completely dissolves. He might escape by binge-watching a show for 8 hours, or by convincing himself that the obstacle is a sign from the universe to just surrender and let go. He swings from ineffective manic action to paralyzing escapist passivity, and his great projects never seem to get off the ground. Here's the key. Michael doesn't see this as his own internal tug-of-war. He projects it. He might complain that his business partner, who is just being practical, is too aggressive and materialistic, projected Mars. Or he might lament that the world is just too harsh and cruel for his beautiful, sensitive vision, projecting himself as the Neptune victim. The conflict in his mind is between him and the world. He fails to see that the world is simply mirroring his own unresolved polarity. The aggressive business partner is trying to activate his own disowned Mars, and his feeling of being a victim is his ungrounded Neptune. The path to integration for Michael is to stop the tug-of-war. He must realize he is holding both ends of the rope. He is being called to find the middle path, to build a bridge between these two great powers. He needs to learn how to be a practical mystic or a spiritual warrior. This means infusing his practical daily actions, Mars, with a sense of higher purpose and compassion, Neptune. It means grounding his divine inspiration, Neptune, with a concrete step-by-step plan, Mars. He could learn to use meditation not as an escape, but as a tool to gain clarity for his next practical step. He learns to create a business plan that is both profitable and soulfully aligned. As he learns to walk this middle path, the chaos of swinging between extremes begins to subside. He reclaims the projection from the outside world and becomes a whole, integrated force. If you find yourself in a recurring pattern in your relationships, always attracting partners who are emotionally detached, or intensely dramatic, or fiercely independent, you are very likely looking into the mirror of an opposition in your own chart. The very quality that both fascinates and infuriates you and others is the key to a part of yourself you are being asked to reclaim. So, let's take a courageous look into your own relational mirror. Thought-provoking question: which quality in other people, partners, rivals, or even characters and stories consistently triggers a strong reaction in you, either of intense admiration or intense irritation? How might that quality be a disowned or projected part of yourself that you are being asked to integrate? Be radically honest with yourself. That person who drives you absolutely crazy with their irresponsibility might be mirroring your own exiled need for freedom and play. The person you admire for their incredible discipline might be showing you the focused power you've yet to claim. Your relationships are not random. They are a curriculum designed by your own algorithm to lead you back to wholeness. You've now become acquainted with the creative friction of the square. That very internal stop-go dynamic where it feels like you're re-driving with one foot on the gas and one on the brake. That tension is designed to build inner strength and force you to create new solutions. Now, we're going to explore a different, and in some ways, more perplexing kind of tension. We go into look at what happens when two planetary energies are positioned directly across the zodiac from each other in a 180-degree standoff. This is an energy that often doesn't feel like it's inside of us at all. It feels like it's happening to us through our relationships with others. We are going to gaze into the cosmic mirror of the opposition aspect. If a square is a point of internal friction, An opposition is a tug of war. Picture two of your inner characters standing on opposite sides of a vast field, each holding one end of a rope, pulling for dominance. They are in a state of polarity. They represent two equally valid but seemingly contradictory needs within your personality. And because it's so difficult to consciously hold two opposing truths at the same time, our algorithm has a clever, if chaotic, workaround: projection. We tend to unconsciously identify with one side of the polarity of the planet we're more comfortable with, and we project the other end of the rope onto the people and situations we encounter in the outside world. Our partners, our rivals, our bosses, and even our heroes and villains become the living embodiment of the other half of ourselves. The main principle of the opposition is this: it is designed to teach you the art of balance and integration through the mirror of relationship. The universe will consistently bring you people who personify the qualities of your disowned planet, forcing you to confront that energy. The recurring chaos of an opposition is the chaos of relationship drama, a feeling perpetually locked in a struggle with an other who seems to be everything you're not. The journey to mastery lies in realizing that the person at the other end of the rope is not your enemy. They are a reflection of a vital part of you that you have sent into exile. The goal isn't for one side to win the tug of war, but for you to learn how to stand gracefully in the center, holding the tension of both truths at once. Let's see how this plays out with a Mars-Neptune opposition. Here we have the ultimate polarity between action and surrender. Mars is the warrior, direct, assertive, focused, and driven to make things happen in the concrete material world. Neptune is the mystic, passive, imaginative, spiritual, and driven to dissolve boundaries and merge with the intangible world of dreams and spirit. Now, meet Michael, who has this opposition in his chart. He feels a constant pull between these two extremes. One part of him, his Mars, wants to create a detailed plan, build a business, and take decisive, practical action. The other part, his Neptune, wants to meditate, trust the flow of the universe, and escape the harsh realities of the material world through art, fantasy, or spirituality. The unconscious way this often plays out is in a chaotic swing between the two. Michael might get a brilliant, divinely inspired idea for a new project, Neptune. He'll then switch into Mars mode, working furiously for a week, full of drive and ambition. But the moment he hits a real-world obstacle or a mundane, boring task, his Neptune pole gets activated. He suddenly feels overwhelmed, disillusioned, and his energy completely dissolves. He might escape by binge-watching a show for 8 hours, or by convincing himself that the obstacle is a sign from the universe to just surrender and let go. He swings from ineffective manic action to paralyzing escapist passivity, and his great projects never seem to get off the ground. Here's the key. Michael doesn't see this as his own internal tug of war. He projects it. He might complain that his business partner, who is just being practical, is too aggressive and materialistic, projected Mars. Or he might lament that the world is just too harsh and cruel for his beautiful, sensitive vision, projecting himself as the Neptune victim. The conflict in his mind is between him and the world. He fails to see that the world is simply mirroring his own unresolved polarity. The aggressive business partner is trying to activate his own disowned Mars, and his feeling of being a victim is his ungrounded Neptune. The path to integration for Michael is to stop the tug of war. He must realize he is holding both ends of the rope. He is being called to find the middle path, to build a bridge between these two great powers. He needs to learn how to be a practical mystic or a spiritual warrior. This means infusing his practical daily actions Mars with a sense of higher purpose and compassion Neptune. It means grounding his divine inspiration Neptune with a concrete step-by-step plan. Mars, he could learn to use meditation not as an escape, but as a tool to gain clarity for his next practical step. He learns to create a business plan that is both profitable and soulfully aligned. As he learns to walk this middle path, the chaos of swinging between extremes begins to subside. He reclaims the projection from the outside world and becomes a whole integrated force. If you find yourself in a recurring pattern in your relationships, always attracting partners who are emotionally detached or intensely dramatic or fiercely independent, you are very likely looking into the mirror of an opposition in your own chart. The very quality that both fascinates and infuriates you in others is the key to a part of yourself you are being asked to reclaim. So, let's take a courageous look into your own relational mirror. Thought-provoking question. Which quality in other people, partners, rivals, or even characters in stories consistently triggers a strong reaction in you, either of intense admiration or intense irritation? How might that quality be a disowned or projected part of yourself that you are being asked to integrate? Be radically honest with yourself. That person who drives you absolutely crazy with their irresponsibility might be mirroring your own exiled need for freedom and play. The person you admire for their incredible discipline might be showing you the focused power you've yet to claim. Your relationships are not random. They are a curriculum designed by your own algorithm to lead you back to wholeness. We have spent the last few sessions courageously exploring the challenging dynamics within your algorithm. We looked at the internal friction of the square and gazed into the relational mirror of the opposition. It can start to feel like this cosmic code is primarily a curriculum of struggle. But that is only half of the story. Your natal chart is not just a map of your challenges. It is also a treasure map pointing to your innate gifts, your natural talents, and the areas of your life where grace flows to you with astonishing ease. Your algorithm has a built-in support system. It is time we talk about your cosmic superpowers, the harmonious aspects of the trine and the sextile. After the intensity of squares and oppositions, working with trines and sextiles feels like a gentle, flowing river. These are the aspects that connect planets that are in natural harmony with each other. A trine, a 120-degree angle, connects to planets in the same element, like fire to fire or water to water. This creates a closed circuit of effortless energy. A trine is a pure innate talent. It is a gift you were born with, a skill that is so natural to you it feels less like something you learned and more like something you've always known how to do. A sextile, a 60-degree angle, is a little different. It connects planets in compatible, friendly elements like fire and air or earth and water. A sextile isn't a fully formed talent so much as a potent opportunity. It's a friendly conversation between two parts of yourself, an open door waiting for you to walk through it. It requires a little conscious effort to activate, but once you do, the energies cooperate beautifully to create a wonderful result. The core principle here is that trines and sextiles represent your path of least resistance and your areas of natural genius. They are the blessings encoded in your chart, the places where the universe gives you a helping hand. However, and this is a crucial point there, very ease can become a trap. Unlike a square, which constantly creates friction and demands your attention, a trine can operate so smoothly in the background that you take it completely for granted. You can become lazy with your greatest gifts, allowing them to lie dormant or undeveloped. This can lead to its own unique form of chaos, the quiet, haunting chaos of unfulfilled potential. Let's look at an example with a beautiful, easy aspect, a Mercury-Jupiter trine. We know Mercury is the planet of the mind and communication. Jupiter is the planet of expansion, optimism, and higher wisdom. When these two are in a trine, they create a mind Mercury that is naturally expansive and optimistic Jupiter. Let's call our character Isabel. Isabel has this trine. From a young age, learning has been easy for her. She grasps big picture concepts effortlessly. She's a natural storyteller and she has a wonderful sense of humor. People are drawn to her ideas and find her naturally inspiring. Her mind is a fertile ground for brilliant thoughts. This is her innate gift. Now, let's watch how the chaos of ease can creep in. Isabel has a lifelong dream of writing a book. With her Mercury-Jupiter trine, the brainstorming phase is pure joy. Ideas flow to her in a rushing torrent. She can talk for hours about the book's grand themes, its philosophical implications, and the impact it will have on the world. The vision is vast and beautiful, but because this part comes so easily, she may unconsciously believe that the entire process should be that effortless. When it comes time for the hard, unglamorous work, the structuring of chapters, the meticulous editing, the checking of facts, she loses momentum. It doesn't provide the same exhilarating rush of Jupiterian inspiration. Weeks turn into months, and her book remains a collection of brilliant but disconnected notes. She still identifies as a writer, and she can still talk inspiringly about her project. But she isn't actually doing the work. This is the shadow side of a beautiful trine. It can lead to coasting on raw talent rather than developing it into a honed craft. The chaos is a subtle stagnation, a gap between her immense potential and her actual output, which can lead to a quiet sense of shame or failure, despite her obvious giftedness. The path to mastery for Isabel is to bring conscious appreciation and a touch of discipline to her natural flow state. She needs to honor her gift by giving it structure. She needs to recognize her talent, not as the finished product, but as the precious raw material. By committing to a writing schedule, by embracing the less exciting parts of the process, she can channel that magnificent flow of ideas into a tangible form. She learns to use her superpower with intention, not just possess it. Your trines and sextiles are your greatest resources, especially when you are navigating the more challenging parts of your chart. When you are feeling beat up by a difficult square, consciously leaning into one of your trines is like coming home. It's a way to recharge your energetic batteries and remember your strengths. It builds the confidence you need to go back and face the challenge. They are your places of rest, rejuvenation, and resourcefulness. We often dismiss our greatest gifts precisely because they feel so easy. We think that if it isn't hard, it must not be valuable. I want you to completely let go of that idea. Thought-provoking question. What is a skill or quality that comes so naturally to you that you are often surprised when other people find it difficult? What talent do you possess that feels less like an accomplishment and more like just something you can do? Maybe you are a natural diplomat who can smooth over any argument. Maybe you have a green thumb and can make any plant thrive. Maybe you have an impeccable sense of direction, or you can organize any chaotic space with ease. Don't dismiss these things. The answer to that question is very likely pointing directly to a trine or a sextile in your algorithm. It is a clue to your innate genius, a cosmic inheritance that is just waiting for you to claim it, to polish it, and to share its light with the world. We have spent our time together mapping the beautiful intricacies of your personal algorithm. We've explored your core identity through the sun, your emotional needs through the moon, and your unique modes of thought, love, and action through Mercury, Venus, and Mars. We've seen how the aspects between them create the dynamic story of your inner life, with its challenges, its triumphs, and its areas of effortless grace. But your personal algorithm does not operate in a vacuum. Now, we are going to zoom out. We're going to see how your unique individual code plugs into a much larger network, a collective energetic field that connects you to everyone born in your era. It's time to meet the slow-moving giants of the solar system, the planets that write the generational code: Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. These three are known as the transpersonal or outer planets because their influence extends beyond the personal ego and defines the evolutionary trajectory of entire generations. They move so slowly through the zodiac that everyone born within a span of 7, 14, or even 20+ years will have them in the very same sign. If your personal planets are the unique apps installed on your smartphone, you can think of the outer planets as the operating system, like iOS or Android, that your entire Generation S phones are running on. Everyone in your age group is working with the same fundamental OS, which comes with its own specific features, its own aesthetic, and its own unique set of glitches and innovations. Let's quickly meet the team. Uranus is the Great Awakener. It is the planet of revolution, rebellion, sudden change, and divine insight. The sign Uranus was in when you were born describes your generation's particular style of innovation and what collective structures you came here to disrupt. Neptune is the Great Dissolver. It is the planet of spirituality, dreams, imagination, compassion, but also illusion and escapism. The sign Neptune was in defines your generation's spiritual ideals, your collective artistic inspirations, and also your collective blind spots and addictions. And finally, Pluto is the Great Transformer. It is the planet of power, death, and rebirth, intensity, and all that is hidden in the subconscious shadow. The sign Pluto was in describes your generation's deepest soul mission, the collective fears you must face, the corrupt power structures you must dismantle, and the profound evolutionary work you are here to do. The core insight is this: you are a conscious agent of your generation's evolutionary purpose. The house placement of these planets in your personal chart shows the specific arena of your life where you are meant to be a direct conduit for these massive collective energies. It's how the generational OS downloads its updates and new programs through your individual experience. Let's use the powerful example of the Pluto and Scorpio generation, which includes most people born between roughly 1983 and 1995. The generational mission, the core code of their Plutonian OS, is to deal with all things Scorpio: power, sex, death, secrets, trauma, psychology, and shared resources. This is a generation hardwired to excavate, expose, and transform the darkest shadows of the collective psyche. They are not afraid to go deep, and we can see this mission playing out everywhere in our culture. It is this generation that has mainstreamed therapy and shadow work, that has an insatiable appetite for true crime stories that expose the darkest parts of human nature, and that has spearheaded movements like #MeToo, which brought hidden abuses of power screaming into the light. This is the Pluto and Scorpio generation fulfilling its cosmic mandate. Now, that is the collective theme, but how does it become personal? It happens through the house placement. Let's say you are part of this generation, and you have Pluto in Scorpio in your 10th house of career and public life. Your personal life's work is inextricably linked to this generational mission of transformation. You will not be satisfied with a superficial career. Your soul is coded to be an agent of Plutonian change in your profession. You might become a surgeon, literally dealing with life and death. You could be a therapist, guiding people through their deepest traumas. You might be an investigative journalist, exposing corporate corruption, or you could be a financial reformer, transforming how we deal with debt and shared resources. The personal chaos for you might have involved intense power struggles with bosses and authority figures. Early in your career, until you learned how to claim your own inherent power and step into your role as a reformer rather than a rebel. If another person from that same generation has Pluto and Scorpio in their 7th house of partnership, their personal mission is to transform the nature of one-to-one relationships, exposing power dynamics, and bringing a new level of psychological depth and honesty to how we partner. Same generational energy, different personal assignment. When you are wrestling with the energy of an outer planet aspect in your chart, it can feel overwhelming, precisely because it is not just your stuff. You are tapping into a massive collective current. Understanding your role as a conduit for this energy can bring a profound sense of meaning to your personal struggles. The challenges you face are not random. They are part of your soul's agreement to help humanity evolve. So let's connect this to your own experience. Look around at the people you grew up with, the music you listened to, the movies that defined your youth, and the challenges your generation is now facing as adults. Thought-provoking question. Think about the overarching themes, challenges, and innovations that define your age group or generation. What is the great work your generation seems uniquely equipped to do in the world? And how do you feel that mission showing up as a personal calling in your own life? Whether your generation is here to revolutionize technology, Uranus in Aquarius, to dissolve old spiritual dogmas, Neptune in Pisces, or to rebuild society from the ground up, Pluto in Capricorn, you have a crucial role to play. Your personal algorithm is a vital piece of the code that is upgrading humanity's collective consciousness. Your life is not just your own. It is a thread in a much larger and much more beautiful tapestry. You are beginning to see yourself not just as an individual, but as a vital thread in a grand generational tapestry. A conduit for the great evolutionary forces of Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. This brings a profound sense of meaning and purpose. But you might be asking, where? Where in the fabric of my own tangible day-to-day life is that thread most visibly woven? How does all this cosmic code, both personal and generational, actually show up at the office? In my living room? In my relationships? To answer that, we need to introduce the 12 houses of the zodiac. These are the specific arenas of life, the stages upon which your soul's drama unfolds. If the planets are the actors in your play, and the signs are the specific roles or characters they are playing, then the houses are the different sets. They are the literal environments and domains of your life experience. The first house is the stage of the self. The second house is the stage of personal finances and values. The third house is the stage of communication and community, and so on, for all 12 slices of life. The houses tell us where the energy of a planet will most powerfully express itself. Today, we're going to focus on the 4 most critical and action-oriented stages in your entire chart. These are the angular houses, the 1st, 4th, 7th, and 10th. In the architecture of your algorithm, these are the 4 main pillars, the load-bearing walls that give your entire life its structure. They correspond to the 4 fundamental anchors of human experience: the 1st house of self and identity, the 4th house of home and roots, the 7th house of partnership and relationship, and the 10th house of career and public life. The core principle here is that these 4 houses are the public interface of your algorithm. Any planet located in one of these houses is like an actor standing center stage in the brightest spotlight. Its energy cannot be hidden. It is amplified. It demands expression, and its themes will be a highly visible and dominant force throughout your entire life. The events and lessons of these houses are what move your life story forward in the most dramatic ways. To understand just how powerfully a house can shape a planet's expression, let's take the energy of a single planet. Let's use Saturn, the planet of structure, discipline, challenges, and mastery, and place it on each of these 4 main stages. Imagine Saturn is in your 1st house, the stage of self. Here, the primary lessons of discipline and structure are directed squarely at your own identity. You are learning to master yourself. People with this placement often feel overly serious or burdened with responsibility from a very young age. There can be a deep-seated self-criticism or a feeling that you have to work incredibly hard just to feel confident in your own skin. The personal chaos here is often an internal battle with a harsh inner critic and a fear of taking up space. Your great life's work is to, brick by painstaking brick, build an unshakable sense of self-reliance and become the ultimate authority in your own life. Now, let's move that Saturnian spotlight. Imagine Saturn is in your 4th house, the stage of home and roots. The lessons of structure and restriction are now focused on your emotional foundation and your family life. There may have been a sense of emotional coolness, heavy responsibility, or strictness in your childhood home. As an adult, this can manifest as a deep fear of emotional insecurity or challenges around creating a true sense of home for yourself. The personal chaos often revolves around family duty, ancestral patterns, or a feeling of not having a secure base from which to operate. Your life's work is to reparent your inner child and to consciously build the solid, secure, emotional, and physical foundation you may not have received early on. Let's shift the energy again. What if Saturn is in your 7th house, the stage of partnership? Here, the universe hands you the curriculum of Saturn through your one-to-one relationships. This is where you learn your hardest and most important lessons. You might have a fear of commitment, or you might attract partners who are older, more established, or who act as teachers or even disciplinarians in your life. There's often a feeling that relationships are simply hard work. The personal chaos manifests as a series of difficult but highly formative partnerships that test your ability to balance your needs with the needs of another. Your great life's work is to master the art of committed, mature, and equal partnership. Learning to see structure and responsibility in relationships not as a burden, but as the key to lasting love. Finally, let's place Saturn in the 10th house, the stage of career and public life. Here, your Saturnian lessons are played out for all the world to see. Your path to success and recognition is likely to be a slow, steady, methodical climb. You will be tested, you will face obstacles, and you will have to earn every single one of your achievements. There are no shortcuts with this placement. The personal chaos can feel like professional setbacks, or a feeling that you have to work twice as hard as everyone else to get ahead. But your life's work is to build a lasting legacy, to become a true master and a respected authority in your field, not through flashiness, but through integrity, discipline, and hard-won experience. Do you see it's the same Saturn energy, but the house it occupies completely changes the area of life where its lessons are focused? Having a planet, especially a challenging one, in an angular house is not a punishment. It is a signpost from your soul, indicating that this area of life is a central part of your curriculum. It is where you are meant to devote your focus and develop true mastery. Take a moment to think about the basic architecture of your own life. Thought-provoking question. Consider the 4 pillars of your life: your personal identity, your home and family roots, your key partnerships, and your career or public role. Which of these 4 areas feels the most dynamic, demanding the most of your energy and focus, and serving as the primary stage upon which your biggest life lessons play out? Your intuitive answer to that question is pointing you toward the most energized angular house in your personal algorithm. It is highlighting one of the main stages where your soul has chosen to do its most important and visible work in this lifetime. We just identified the 4 great pillars of your life's structure, the angular houses of self, home, partnership, and career. These are the primary stages where your most visible and dynamic life lessons play out. But as any great architect knows, a structure is only as strong as the resources used to build it and the substance that fills it. Those pillars need to be supported. Your life needs an engine to generate the power, the wealth, the joy, and the connections that make it all worthwhile. This is the crucial role of the succedent houses, the 2nd, 5th, 8th, and 11th. They are the resource engine of your personal algorithm. The word succedent literally means to follow, and that is exactly what these houses do. Each one follows and provides support for the angular house before it. They are the zones of your chart focused on building, stabilizing, sustaining, and enjoying the resources that your life's main initiatives require. And when I say resources, I mean it in the broadest possible sense, from the tangible resources of money and possessions to the intangible, but equally vital, resources of self-worth, creativity, intimacy, and community. Planets located in these houses operate with a steady, determined, and focused energy. They give you the drive to build, to create, and to make things last. The core insight here is that the succedent houses reveal what you are investing in to create security and derive pleasure and value from your life. If the angular houses are the 4 main departments of your life, Inc., then the succedent houses are the crucial subdepartments that manage the company's assets. The 2nd house is the finance department, managing your personal income and assets. The 5th house is the creative department, managing your joy, creations, and romance. The 8th house is the mergers and acquisitions department, managing joint ventures and deep investments. And the 11th house is the community relations department, managing your network and your hopes for the future. To see how this resource engine works, let's take the energy of a single planet, Venus, the planet of love, value, and pleasure, and plug it into each of these 4 houses. Let's place Venus in the 2nd house, your personal treasury. Here, what Venus values most is tangible security and sensual pleasure. Your algorithm is programmed to find and create beauty and worth in the material world. You'll have a strong drive to build financial stability, not just for survival, but for the pleasure it can bring. You likely have a deep appreciation for quality, for fine fabrics, good food, and a comfortable environment. You express love in a very grounded, reliable, and steadfast way. The personal chaos with this placement can arise if you begin to equate your self-worth entirely with your net worth, or from a tendency towards possessiveness of people and things, fearing any threat to your carefully built security. Now, let's move that loving energy to the 5th house, the playground of your chart. Here, what Venus values is creative expression, joyful play, and passionate romance. Your algorithm is programmed to find pleasure in shining your unique light and being adored for it. You are sustained by your creative hobbies, by laughter, and by the heart-fluttering drama of a great love affair. You express affection through grand gestures, playful banter, and heartfelt compliments. The chaos here can come from a constant need for external validation and attention, or from becoming so addicted to the thrill of the chase that you struggle to move past the initial dramatic stages of romance into something more stable. Next, we place Venus in the 8th house, the deep, shared vault. Here, what Venus values is not personal security, but profound intimacy and the merging of resources. This placement isn't interested in surface-level connections. It craves soul-deep bonds. Your algorithm is programmed to find value in radical honesty, psychological depth, and the transformative power of a truly committed partnership. You are sustained by deep trust and the willingness to explore the shadows with another. The chaos here is legendary. Because the stakes are so high, this placement can bring intense jealousy, power struggles over shared finances or emotional control, and a deep fear of the vulnerability that true merging requires. Finally, let's place Venus in the 11th house, the community hall. Here, what Venus values most are friendships, group associations, and shared ideals. Your algorithm finds pleasure and security in being part of a tribe, a community of like-minded individuals working toward a common goal. Your ideal of love may be less about passionate, one-on-one romance and more about a beautiful intellectual friendship. You express affection through camaraderie and shared social experiences. The chaos of this placement can manifest as a certain detachment from messy personal emotions, or a tendency to prioritize the needs of the group, or your friends over the needs of your primary partner, blurring the lines between friendship and romantic love. The same planet, Venus, but for completely different strategies for finding security, value, and pleasure. Your succedent houses and any planets in them reveal the nature of your personal resource engine. They show what you are driven to build, create, and sustain in order to feel that your life is rich, stable, and worthwhile. So, take a moment to reflect on your own inner engine. What fuel does it run on? Thought-provoking question. When you think about what truly sustains you in life, what comes to mind first? Is it your tangible assets and self-worth, your creative joy and romances, your deep, intimate bonds, or your connection to a wider community and your hopes for the future? Your answer points directly to the part of your resource engine that is most active. Consciously cultivating that area of your life is the key to feeling secure, stable, and wealthy, in the most holistic sense of the word. It is how you power the entire structure of your life. We've now toured the entire foundational structure of your life. We have the 4 great pillars of the angular houses giving you direction and visible expression. We have the powerful resource engine of the succedent houses, providing the fuel and substance to build a stable and valuable life. But every great system, every thriving corporation, and every conscious human being needs something more. It needs a way to process information, to analyze results, to learn from experience, and to prepare intelligently for what's coming next. It needs an integration phase. This is the vital, often unseen role of the cadent houses. The 3rd, 6th, 9th, and 12th. They are the background processing centers of your personal algorithm. The word cadent comes from a Latin root meaning to fall. These houses fall away from the power points of the angles, representing a shift from direct, worldly action into a more mental, reflective, and preparatory space. This is where you sort through the data, distribute information, and adjust your course based on what you've learned. If the angular houses are where you act, and the succedent houses are where you build, then the cadent houses are where you think. They are the great integration centers of your chart. The main insight here is that the cadent houses govern the behind-the-scenes work of learning, analysis, and adjustment that makes effective action possible. Planets located here express themselves in a more mutable, adaptable, and often intellectual way. Continuing our Life Inc. metaphor. These houses are the essential administrative and strategic departments. The 3rd house is the communications department, managing the flow of data and daily correspondence. The 6th house is the quality control department, analyzing systems and refining processes. The 9th house is the global strategy department, researching future trends and defining the company's core philosophy. And the 12th house is the corporate archives and spiritual retreat center, where the deep history is stored and where we connect to the soul of the entire enterprise. To truly grasp how these houses change the flavor of a planet, let's take the most action-oriented planet of all, Mars, the god of war and drive, and see what happens when his fiery engine is tasked with operating in these more mental and preparatory environments. Let's start with Mars in the 3rd house, the communications hub. Here, the warrior's drive is channeled directly into the mind and the voice. Action becomes verbal. This is the algorithm of a fast thinker, a sharp talker, a passionate debater. You might be someone who uses words with precision and force, who is intellectually restless, and who is driven to learn and share information. The chaos of this placement can manifest as a sharp tongue, a tendency to get into arguments, or using your words as weapons. The great preparatory work here is to gather information and learn how to effectively communicate, which shapes the identity you will ultimately present to the world in the first house. Now we move to Mars in the sixth house, the workshop of daily routines and service. Here, the engine of Mars is put to work perfecting the day-to-day grind. Action becomes about efficiency, problem-solving, and improving systems. You are likely a very hard worker, driven to be useful and to get things right. You might find your energy is best expressed through acts of service, or by mastering a specific craft. The chaos can emerge as workaholism, a hypercritical nature towards yourself and others, and stress-related health issues from never feeling like your work is done. The preparatory work here is to hone your skills and daily habits, creating the healthy, efficient systems that will be needed to sustain a successful partnership in the seventh house. Next, we place the warrior in the ninth house, the university and the cathedral. Here, Mars's drive is directed toward a quest for truth, meaning, and a philosophical framework for life. Action becomes a crusade. You are the passionate advocate for your beliefs, the righteous defender of your faith or philosophy. You might be driven to travel the world, to pursue higher education, or to fight for a cause you believe in. The chaos can manifest as dogmatism, a preachy or self-righteous attitude, or a recklessness in the pursuit of adventure. The great preparatory work of this placement is to formulate the worldview and the personal code of ethics that will guide your career and public life in the 10th house. Finally, we come to the most complex placement, Mars in the 12th house, the hidden sanctuary of the subconscious. Here, the planet of direct action is turned inward. The warrior is placed in a This is the algorithm for the spiritual warrior, the champion for the underdog, the person who works tirelessly behind the scenes in institutions like hospitals, charities, or ashrams. Action is often indirect and not for public consumption. However, the chaos of this placement can be significant. Unconscious Mars here can lead to self-sabotage where you unknowingly take actions that undermine your own success. It can manifest as repressed anger that leaks out as passive aggression, or a feeling of being attacked by secret enemies, who are often just projected aspects of your own disowned drive. The preparatory work here is the ultimate hero's journey, to confront your own shadow and subconscious motivations before you begin a whole new cycle of identity in the first house. The work of the Caden houses is subtle, but it is the foundation upon which all effective and conscious action is built. This is where you digest your life. Let's reflect on your own inner world of processing and preparation. Thought-provoking question. Where in your life do you do your most important behind-the-scenes work? Is it in your daily communications and learning, your routines and acts of service, your beliefs and grand explorations, or in your solitary, spiritual, and introspective world? Your answer points to your primary integration center. It reveals the specific environment your soul uses to make sense of your experiences, to adjust your strategies, and to prepare you for your next great leap into the visible world. You've learned how to be an astrological detective, how to follow the clues of rulers' aspects and houses to find the specific convergence points in your algorithm that generate your recurring challenges. You've pinpointed your chaos hotspots. Why does your personal brand of chaos seem to flare up for a few months and then go dormant for a year or two? Why do your challenges come in seasons? The answer lies in the dynamic, ever-moving, and exquisitely intelligent timing of the cosmos. Up until now, we have been studying your natal chart as a static blueprint, a snapshot of the sky at your birth. This blueprint is the permanent, unchanging code of your personal algorithm. But the planets, of course, did not stop moving the moment you were born. They continue their majestic dance through the zodiac, day after day, year after year. Transits are the real-time movements of the planets in the sky right now, and how they interact with your static natal blueprint. Here's the most important metaphor I can give you. Your natal chart is like a magnificent, complex, and exquisitely tuned grand piano, sitting silently in a room. It is full of incredible potential, with its harmonious chords and its points of dynamic tension. The transiting planets are the musicians who enter that room day by day and choose which keys and strings to play. A transiting planet doesn't bring its own instrument. It plays yours. When a transiting planet moves to a position where it forms a powerful aspect, a conjunction, a square, an opposition to one of your natal planets, it is like a musician striking a key on your piano. For a period of time, that note will ring out, activating the potential that was always there, sleeping in the design of the instrument. This is the central principle. Transits are the triggers that activate the dormant code within you. A transit does not create an event or a feeling out of thin air. It simply delivers the energetic ping or notification that wakes up a specific part of your pre-existing algorithm. This is the mechanism that explains why the same collective transit, like our old friend Mercury Retrograde, affects everyone so differently. The retrograde is a musician playing a slightly dissonant reflective tune, but it will sound completely different depending on which piano it is playing, on which specific keys your natal planets it happens to press. Let's bring our detective case with Jessica and her financial roller coaster back to life. Remember her chaos hotspot? Uranus, the ruler of her second house of money, is in her 8th house of debt, forming a square to her impulsive Mars in the 5th house of risk-taking. The core pattern is that her impulsive risks lead to financial shocks. Now, let's say for the past year, things have been relatively calm for Jessica financially. Her hotspot has been dormant. The Mars and Uranus strings on her piano have been silent. But now, the great musician, transiting Jupiter, the planet of expansion, optimism, opportunity, and X's begins to move through her 5th house. As it glides through that part of her chart, it arrives at the exact degree of her natal Mars. This is a powerful conjunction transit. The musician has arrived to play her Mars key, and he's playing it with a booming, enthusiastic Jupiterian flourish. What does Jessica experience? The expansive, confident, which is already programmed for impulsive action and risk. Jessica suddenly feels on top of the world. She feels lucky, optimistic, and powerfully driven. Out of the blue, an investment opportunity appears that seems like a once-in-a-lifetime chance. Her natural tendency to take a gamble is now amplified 100-fold by Jupiter's cosmic cheerleading. She feels invincible. She decides to go all in, perhaps even taking on debt to do so. What has just happened? By activating her natal Mars, transiting Jupiter has also thrown the switch on her entire natal square. The big, optimistic risk Jupiter on Mars in the 5th sends a powerful jolt of energy across that 90-degree angle to her natal Uranus in the 8th house. The sure-thing investment suddenly collapses because of some shocking hidden information Uranus related to the company's debt 8th house. Her personal finances 2nd house ruled by Uranus take a catastrophic hit. The roller coaster has just crested the hill and gone into a terrifying plunge. Did transiting Jupiter cause her to lose money? No. It provided the trigger. It delivered the energy of expansion and overconfidence that activated the pre-existing weak link in her own algorithm. If Jessica didn't have that natal Mars-Uranus square, the exact same Jupiter transit might have simply manifested as a wonderfully creative period. But because it pinged her chaos hotspot, it activated the whole familiar, painful drama. This is why understanding transits is the key to moving from reaction to co-creation. It's the cosmic equivalent of checking the weather forecast. If you know a big Jupiter storm is heading for a volatile part of your chart, you can prepare. Jessica could have seen this transit coming and made a conscious vow to temper her optimism with caution, to avoid speculative risks, and to channel that incredible burst of energy into something creative rather than financial. You can't stop the rain, but you can choose to bring an umbrella. Thought-provoking question. Think about a recent period in your life that felt particularly intense or significant. Can you identify an overarching theme to that time? Was it about discipline and hard work, a Saturn transit, sudden changes, a Uranus transit, or maybe a burst of confidence and growth, a Jupiter transit? How did that external weather interact with your own internal climate? Developing this sensitivity to the energetic season you are in is the first step to consciously navigating your life's timing. It allows you to understand why certain parts of your algorithm are being activated now, and to work with that energy rather than being a victim of it. You've learned how to be an astrological detective, how to follow the clues of rulers' aspects and houses to find the specific convergence points in your algorithm that generate your recurring challenges. You've pinpointed your chaos hotspots. Why does your personal brand of chaos seem to flare up for a few months and then go dormant for a year or two? Why do your challenges come in seasons? The answer is transits. Up until now, we have been studying your natal chart as a static blueprint, a snapshot of the sky at your birth. This blueprint is the permanent, unchanging code of your personal algorithm. But the planets, of course, did not stop moving the moment you were born. Transits are the real-time movements of the planets in the sky right now, and how they interact with your static natal blueprint. Here is the most important metaphor I can give you. Your natal chart is like a magnificent, complex, and exquisitely tuned grand piano, sitting silently in a room. It is full of incredible potential, with its harmonious chords and its points of dynamic tension. The transiting planets are the musicians who enter that room day by day and choose which keys and strings to play. A transiting planet doesn't bring its own instrument. It plays yours. When a transiting planet moves to a position where it forms a powerful aspect of conjunction, a square, in opposition to one of your natal planets, it is like a musician striking a key on your piano. For a period of time, that note will ring out, activating the potential that was always there, sleeping in the design of the instrument. This is the central principle. Transits are the triggers that activate the dormant code within you. A transit does not create an event or a feeling out of thin air. This is the mechanism that explains why the same collective transit, like our old friend Mercury Retrograde, affects everyone so differently. The retrograde is a musician playing a slightly dissonant, reflective tune, but it will sound completely different depending on which piano it's playing, on which specific keys your natal planets it happens to press. Let's bring our detective case with Jessica and her financial roller coaster back to life. Remember her chaos hotspot, Uranus, the ruler of her second house of money, is in her 8th house of debt, forming a square to her impulsive Mars in the 5th house of risk-taking? The core pattern is that her impulsive risks lead to financial shocks. Now, let's say for the past year, things have been relatively calm for Jessica financially. Her hotspot has been dormant. The Mars and Uranus strings on her piano have been silent. But now, the great musician, transiting Jupiter, the planet of expansion, optimism, opportunity, and excess, begins to move through her 5th house. As it glides through that part of her chart, it arrives at the exact degree of her natal Mars. This is a powerful conjunction transit. The musician has arrived to play her Mars key, and he's playing it with a booming, enthusiastic Jupiterian flourish. What does Jessica experience? The expansive, confident, go big or go home energy of Jupiter pours directly into the function of her natal Mars, which is already programmed for impulsive action and risk. Out of the blue, an investment opportunity appears that seems like a once-in-a-lifetime chance. Her natural tendency to take a gamble is now amplified 100-fold by Jupiter's cosmic cheerleading. She feels invincible. The big, optimistic risk, Jupiter on Mars in the 5th, sends a powerful jolt of energy across that 90-degree angle to her natal Uranus in the 8th house. Her personal finances' 2nd house, ruled by Uranus, take a catastrophic hit. The roller coaster has just crested the hill and gone into a terrifying plunge. Did transiting Jupiter cause her to lose money? It delivered the energy of expansion and overconfidence that activated the pre-existing weak link in her own algorithm. If Jessica didn't have that natal Mars-Uranus square, the exact same Jupiter transit might have simply manifested as a wonderfully creative period. But because it pinged her chaos hotspot, it activated the whole familiar, painful drama. This is why understanding transits is the key to moving from reaction to co-creation. It's the cosmic equivalent of checking the weather forecast. If you know a big Jupiter storm is heading for a volatile part of your chart, you can prepare. You can't stop the rain, but you can choose to bring an umbrella. Let's apply this sense of cosmic weather to your own recent experience. Thought-provoking question. Think about a recent period in your life that felt particularly intense or significant. Can you identify an overarching theme to that time? Was it about discipline and hard work, a Saturn transit, sudden changes, a Uranus transit, or maybe a burst of confidence and growth, a Jupiter transit? How did that external weather interact with your own internal climate? Developing this sensitivity to the energetic season you are in is the first step to consciously navigating your life's timing. It allows you to understand why certain parts of your algorithm are being activated now, and to work with that energy rather than being a victim of it. You're now developing a sensitivity to the cosmic weather, learning to feel the expansive sunshine of a Jupiter transit or the sudden electric thunderstorms of Uranus. Now, we are going to discuss a different kind of weather system entirely. It's not a quick storm, but a slow-moving, high-pressure system that settles over a part of your life for a long time. It can feel like a long, cold winter that tests your resilience, or a cosmic stress test that reveals what you're truly made of. It is time to talk about the transits of the great teacher, the master craftsman, and the system auditor of the zodiac, Saturn. In the world of pop astrology, Saturn has a terrifying reputation. He's often painted as the cosmic villain, the bringer of doom, depression, and delay. And it's true that his transits are rarely easy. But to see Saturn as a punishment is to fundamentally misunderstand his sacred role. Saturn is not the destroyer of your life. He is the structural engineer. He is the master architect who comes to inspect the buildings you have created, your career, your relationships, your beliefs, your identity, to ensure they are built to last. The most empowering way to understand Saturn's transits is to see them as a cosmic system audit. Imagine that every few years a master auditor shows up at your life Inc. with a clipboard and a very serious expression. He doesn't care about your excuses or your grand visions. He cares about reality. He goes through every department of your life that his transit touches, and he asks the same tough questions. Is this real? Is this sustainable? Have you done the work? Is this structure built on a foundation of integrity and truth? Or is it built on shortcuts, fantasy, and wishful thinking? The central principle is this: Saturn applies pressure to reveal weakness. His transits are a cosmic stress test. Wherever you have built a part of your life on a weak or inauthentic foundation, that structure will crack, crumble, or be completely demolished under the slow, steady pressure of a Saturn transit. This process feels difficult, restrictive, and frustrating, but its purpose is never to punish you. Its purpose is to force you to become the master builder of your own life, to clear away the flimsy facades so that you can rebuild something real, something that can truly support the weight of your future growth and happiness. The most famous of these audits is the one everyone goes through between the ages of roughly 28 and 30, the Saturn return. This is when transiting Saturn returns to the exact position it was in at the moment of your birth. It is the cosmic bar exam for adulthood, the first time Saturn audits your entire life structure. Let's imagine Ben, who is turning 29. His 20s have been a time of exploration. He has a job in a field he fell into after college. It pays the bills, but it doesn't light up his soul. He's in a relationship that's comfortable and familiar, but it lacks deep passion and a shared vision for the future. He's built a life based on the path of least resistance, a structure made of good enough for now. As transiting Saturn begins to approach his natal Saturn, the auditor arrives. Ben starts to feel a deep, pervasive anxiety he can't quite name, a sense of dread of time running out. Is this all there is? He starts to wonder. The pressure is building. Then, the audit begins in earnest. His company goes through a restructuring, and his unfulfilling, good enough job is eliminated. A few months later, his partner sits him down and ends their comfortable relationship, admitting that she needs something more. From the outside, and to Ben, it feels like his life is completely falling apart. He feels like a failure. This is the chaos of a Saturn transit. But what's really happening? Saturn isn't destroying Ben's life. Saturn is simply handing him the audit report. The report says, the career structure you built was not in alignment with your authentic purpose. The relationship structure you built was not based on a foundation of true compatibility. Saturn has, with surgical precision, removed the two major structures in his life that were not built to last. And in the rubble, the true gift of the transit is revealed. Stripped of the inauthentic life he was living, Ben is now forced and freed to get real with himself for the first time. He has to ask the hard Saturnian questions. What work would bring me a lasting sense of accomplishment? What are my non-negotiable values in a partnership? Who am I, really? Without this job and this person? This crisis initiates a period of profound maturation. Perhaps he goes back to school to pursue a career he's always dreamed of. He spends time alone getting clear on his values. He takes responsibility for his health and his future. He is consciously, deliberately, building the foundation for the next 30 years of his life, but this time he is building it with the strength and wisdom of a true adult. He has passed the audit. This process repeats in smaller ways throughout your life. Whenever transiting Saturn makes a hard aspect to a planet in your chart, that part of your algorithm gets audited. A Saturn transit to your Venus will test the reality of your relationships and your finances. A transit to your Mercury will force you to get serious about your thoughts and your words. I invite you to reframe your relationship with limitation. The boundaries and pressures that Saturn brings are not a cage. They are the riverbanks that give the river of your life direction, focus, and power. Without them, your energy would just be a stagnant, shallow puddle. So let's apply the auditor's discerning eye to your own life right now. Thought-provoking question. Think of an area in your life right now where you feel a sense of pressure, delay, or limitation. Instead of seeing it as a roadblock, could you reframe it as a test of your maturity? What weak structure is this pressure inviting you to either reinforce or completely rebuild with more integrity? This pressure is not your enemy. It is a sacred invitation from the cosmos to get real, to grow up, and to finally build the life you are truly capable of sustaining. You've learned to reframe Saturn's transits, to see the great auditor not as a source of punishment, but as a master craftsman helping you to build a life of integrity and maturity. Saturn works with the reality you have created and helps you to perfect it. But there are forces in the cosmos even larger and more mysterious than Saturn. There are slow-moving transpersonal energies that are not interested in merely auditing the house you have built. They are interested in fundamentally changing the very ground the house is built upon. They are the great agents of your soul's evolution. We must now speak with reverence about the system-wide shocks delivered by transiting Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. If a Saturn transit is like a deep and thorough debugging of your current operating system, these outer planet transits are a complete system overhaul. They are not here to make small adjustments. They are here to catalyze profound and permanent change in your core programming. A Uranus transit is like a sudden mandatory system update that completely changes the interface, deletes old stagnant programs, and installs shocking new capacities you didn't even know you wanted. A Neptune transit is like a slow-moving fog that seeps into your hard drive, dissolving old certainties, blurring the lines between files, and making you question the very nature of reality itself. And a Pluto transit is the most profound of all. It is a complete wipe and reinstallation of your entire operating system. Everything you thought you were gets erased, and you must rebuild yourself from the deepest, most essential level of your being. The primary insight here is that these transits are not personal attacks. They are evolutionary initiations. They are incredibly long, often lasting 2 to 3 years or more as they move back and forth over a sensitive planet in your chart. You cannot control them, you cannot rush them, and you cannot fight them without creating immense suffering for yourself. Their purpose is to align your small personal story with the great cosmic story of evolution, forcing you to grow in ways you never would have chosen for yourself. To understand their distinct flavors, let us follow the story of a woman named Maria through the major chapters of her midlife evolution. Maria's natal sun is in the earthy, stable sign of Taurus in her 10th house of career. For the first half of her life, she embodies this perfectly. She's a successful accountant, married to her high school sweetheart, living a predictable, secure, and respected life in her hometown. Then, around age 41, transiting Uranus moves to oppose her natal sun. The Great Awakener arrives. The lightning bolt strikes the very foundation of her stable identity. The life that once felt so secure now suddenly feels like a suffocating cage. An electrifying, restless energy begins to surge through her. The chaos of this transit is disruptive and shocking. She might suddenly quit her stable accounting job to start a wildly unconventional online business. She might take up a shocking new hobby or leave her predictable marriage, stunning everyone who thought they knew her. This is Uranus at work, liberating her from a life that had become too small for her soul. The theme is liberation. A few years later, in her late 40s, another force arrives. Transiting Neptune forms a square to her natal sun. The Great Dissolver brings a gentle but pervasive fog. After the exhilarating chaos of her Uranian breakthrough, a strange sense of confusion and disillusionment sets in. The new business she started with such revolutionary zeal may begin to falter. The clear sense of identity she fought for now feels blurry and uncertain. She feels lost, dreamy, and unmotivated. This is Neptune dissolving her ego's attachment to any single definition of self, successful or not. She might find herself drawn to meditation, poetry, or compassionate service. The chaos feels like being lost at sea with no land in sight. But the purpose is to connect her to a more spiritual, less ego-driven understanding of her purpose. The theme is surrender. Finally, in her mid-50s, the most powerful force of all arrives. Transiting Pluto forms a square to her natal sun. The Great Transformer has come to initiate her into true power. Having been liberated by Uranus and spiritually softened by Neptune, she is now ready for the final test. This transit brings a metaphorical death and rebirth. A major crisis may occur, a health scare, a profound loss, or an intense power struggle that forces her to confront her deepest fears around survival and control. It is a period that will strip her of every last shred of inauthenticity. The chaos feels like a life or death struggle, a journey into the underworld. But if she faces it with courage, she will emerge from the ashes of her old self, not just liberated or surrendered, but fundamentally reborn. She will possess a quiet, unshakable, authentic power that comes from the very core of her being. The theme is rebirth. Do you see the story? Over a decade and a half, these three great forces worked in sequence to guide Maria through a profound soul-level evolution, moving her from a state of stable conformity to one of true, integrated empowerment. These transits are not random tragedies. They are the sacred and often terrifying curriculum of your soul's growth. The only way through them is with trust, courage, and a willingness to let go of who you thought you were in order to become who you are truly meant to be. Take a moment now to look back on the narrative of your own life, to see the great chapters that have already been written. Thought-provoking question. Look at the major chapters of your life story so far. Can you identify a time of sudden liberation or rebellion? A period of dreamy confusion or spiritual seeking? Or a time of intense transformative crisis that led to a rebirth? What did that chapter ultimately teach you about who you really are? By recognizing these archetypal patterns in your own story, you can begin to see your most difficult times not as periods when your life went off track, but as the moments when your soul's evolution was most profoundly on course. We have been gazing with awe and respect at the great, slow-moving outer planets, recognizing their transits as profound evolutionary initiations. These are the powerful external forces that arrive in our lives to trigger, test, and transform our natal algorithm. But there is another layer of cosmic timing at play, one that is far more subtle, more personal, and in many ways more intimate. This timing system is not about what is happening to you from the outside sky. It is about how you are slowly, organically, and beautifully unfolding from the inside. We are now going to explore the slow, internal software update of your personal code, the progressed chart. If transits are the external weather that your soul's tree must endure and adapt to, then progressions are the tree's own internal biological clock. It is the secret encoded rhythm of its growth, the slow uncurling of the seed, the deepening of the roots, the putting forth of branches, the budding, the flowering, and the bearing of fruit. Progressions are a symbolic timing technique that beautifully illustrates the natural evolution of your consciousness over time. The formula is simple and poetic: a day for a year. The positions of the planets in the sky 30 days after you were born do not describe what was happening in the world on that day. They symbolically describe the internal landscape of your 30th year of life. The main insight here is that your progressed chart reflects the organic evolution of your personality. It shows how your relationship to your own algorithm changes as you mature. Your natal chart, the seed, never changes. Its potential is fixed. But how you experience and express that potential evolves dramatically throughout your life. You are not the same person at 40 that you were at 20, and the progressed chart honors this profound internal journey. It shows the code of your algorithm slowly updating itself from within. While all the planets in your chart progress, the one whose movement you will feel most tangibly is the progressed moon. Your natal moon sign describes your lifelong, unchanging emotional needs. But your progressed moon, which changes signs every 2.5 years, describes the specific flavor of your emotional focus during that distinct chapter of your life. Tracking your progressed moon is like reading the emotional diary of your soul. Let's follow a woman named Sarah and watch how her emotional needs evolve as her progressed moon moves through the zodiac. From age 26 to 28.5, Sarah's progressed moon is in the sign of Cancer. During this chapter of her life, her primary emotional need is for security, home, and family. Her internal algorithm is running the nesting program. She might find herself breaking off casual relationships in search of something more stable, spending more time with her mother, or feeling a powerful urge to buy her first apartment and create a safe, cozy sanctuary. Her emotional well-being is directly tied to feeling safe and rooted. Then, just after she turns 28.5, her progressed moon moves into the next sign, Leo. A dramatic internal shift begins. The cozy nest she so desperately needed to build suddenly starts to feel a little bit small, a little bit boring. A new emotional need begins to emerge: the need to be seen, to express herself creatively, and to experience more joy and play. Her algorithm has switched to the Shine program. Sarah might suddenly sign up for an improv class, start wearing brighter colors, and find that she is emotionally fulfilled, not by quiet nights at home but by being out with friends, laughing, and feeling the warmth of the spotlight. 2.5 years later, around age 31, another shift occurs. Her progressed moon enters Virgo. The need for the bright lights of Leo begins to fade, replaced by a new emotional hunger for order, usefulness, and self-improvement. Her algorithm is now running the Refine program. Sarah might suddenly become fascinated with nutrition and wellness, embark on a mission to declutter and organize her entire home, and find a deep, quiet satisfaction in doing her daily work with precision and skill. Her emotional fulfillment now comes from a sense of purpose and a job well done. Do you see how her core emotional needs have naturally evolved? The chaos, if any, often occurs during the transition points, right as the progressed moon is changing signs. Sarah might have felt deeply confused and even guilty when her need for a cozy home was replaced by a need for the spotlight. She might have thought, "What's wrong with me? Am I being selfish?" Understanding progressions is a profound tool for self-compassion. It validates these shifts. Sarah wasn't being selfish. Her emotional body was simply graduating to its next level of development. She was not being inconsistent. She was evolving. This gives you permission to have outgrown old versions of yourself. It affirms that the things that made you happy 5 years ago may not be what your soul needs to feel nourished today, and that is not a failure, that is growth. The progressed sun moves even more slowly, changing signs only about every 30 years, and its ingress into a new sign will mark a fundamental decades-long shift in the expression of your core identity. Progressions are the gentle, internal rhythm of your becoming. I invite you now to become an archaeologist of your own emotional history, to look back at the chapters you've already written. Thought-provoking question. Think back over the last 5 to 10 years of your life. Can you identify distinct 2 to 3 year emotional chapters? What was your primary emotional focus or need during each of those chapters, and how did it differ from the one before or after? You might see a chapter focused on your career, followed by one focused on romance, followed by one focused on your health. By identifying these distinct emotional seasons, you are intuitively tapping into the rhythm of your own progressed moon. You are honoring the beautiful, undeniable truth that you are not a static being, but a soul in a constant, graceful state of unfolding. We have journeyed together deep into the sacred architecture of your soul. You've met the planets, learned the language of the aspects, toured the houses of your life, and witnessed the cosmic timing of transits and progressions. You have learned how to be an astrological detective, pinpointing the chaos hotspots in your own algorithm. You now have the map. But a map, no matter how detailed or accurate, is utterly useless if you don't use it to navigate the territory of your life. All of this profound knowledge, all of this cosmic insight has been leading us to this single pivotal point, the present moment. It is time to bring this wisdom out of the realm of abstract theory and into the living, breathing practice of your daily experience. It is time to learn how to consciously move from reaction to response. This is where all our work together comes to fruition. This is how you stop being a victim of your chart and become its master. A reaction is unconscious. It is an automatic, conditioned reflex that is triggered by an external event. When you are in reaction, your old code is running the show. You are a puppet being pulled by the strings of your past conditioning, the very patterns we've been identifying in your algorithm. A response, on the other hand, is conscious. It is a deliberate, empowered choice that you make in the present moment. The great psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor Viktor Frankl summarized this sacred human capacity perfectly. He said, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom." The entire purpose of understanding your personal algorithm is to give you the ability to find that sacred space. Your chart shows you exactly which stimuli are most likely to trigger your automatic conditioned reactions. Mindfulness is the practice that allows you to pause in the heat of the moment, to find that space and to exercise your freedom to choose. Let's make this incredibly practical. Imagine a man named Tom. Tom has done the work of identifying a chaos hotspot in his chart, a difficult square aspect between his Mercury, the planet of communication, and his Mars, the planet of action and anger. He knows that his default program, when he feels challenged or criticized, is to react with sharp, cutting, and defensive words. Tom is sitting in a meeting at work, presenting an idea he's passionate about. A colleague interrupts and points out a flaw in his logic. This criticism is the external stimulus. Instantly, Tom's Mercury-Mars square is triggered. A hot defensive surge of Martian anger floods his system. Before he has even had a conscious thought, his Mercury protocol activates, and he lashes out with a sarcastic, cutting remark that puts his colleague in their place. In the moment, he might feel a flash of victory, but the aftermath is chaotic. The creative energy in the room dies, his relationship with his colleague is damaged, and he leaves the meeting feeling drained and vaguely ashamed. His old code has run flawlessly and produced its usual destructive result. That was a reaction. Now, let's replay this scenario, but this time Tom has not only identified his pattern, he has been practicing the art of awareness. The scene is the same. The colleague offers the same criticism. The trigger is identical. And this is crucial, Tom's initial internal feeling is also identical. That hot, defensive surge of Martian anger still floods his system. The programming is still there, but this time, something new happens. As the feeling arises, a second consciousness within him, his observer self, wakes up. It doesn't judge the anger. It doesn't try to suppress it. It simply, calmly names what is happening. Tom thinks to himself, there it is. That's my Mercury-Mars square activating. In that single moment of recognition, he has created the sacred space. He has inserted a pause between the stimulus and his old automatic reaction. To anchor himself in that pause, he takes one slow, deliberate breath. He takes a sip of water. It might only be 2 seconds, but in those 2 seconds, a miracle occurs. He has reclaimed his power. He is no longer the puppet. He is the one holding the strings. He has a choice. And from that space of conscious choice, he offers a response instead of a reaction. He says calmly, "Thank you for that feedback. You've raised a valid point. Can you tell me more about your concern so I can better understand it?" The outcome is radically different. The issue is addressed constructively. The relationship is preserved, and Tom leaves the meeting feeling centered and empowered. He has successfully hacked his own algorithm. He has taken one of his greatest challenges and, through awareness, begun the process of turning it into a strength. This is the great work. It is a practice, a moment-to-moment discipline. You won't get it right every time, and that is perfectly okay. The goal is not perfection, it is progress. At first, you may only recognize the pattern long after you've already reacted. With practice, you'll start to catch yourself in the middle of it. And eventually, you will be able to feel the energy rising and create that sacred pause before the old program takes control. This is the true integration of spiritual wisdom with your daily life. This is living your chart with consciousness. I want to give you a simple, powerful tool to begin this practice right now. Thought-provoking question. The next time you feel a familiar negative emotional pattern begin to rise within you, be it anger, fear, jealousy, or despair, can you simply pause, take one deep breath, and silently say to yourself, "I see this pattern." Don't try to fix it, don't judge it, just notice it. What happens in that moment of pure, non-judgmental awareness, that moment is your freedom. That moment is where you stop being a victim of your past and become the conscious creator of your future. You have learned to stand in the eye of your own inner storm, to find that sacred pause between the trigger and the conditioned reaction. You have a tool that can grant you freedom in any moment. But what do we do in that sacred space? How do we begin to consciously work with the difficult, painful, and repetitive patterns that we notice rising up within us? The act of noticing is the first miraculous step. The next step is one of profound courage, compassion, and radical self-acceptance. It is the work of turning to face the parts of ourselves that we have hidden away in the dark. We are going to talk about debugging your personal code through the sacred practice of shadow work. The concept of the psychological shadow was brought into our consciousness by the great psychoanalyst Carl Jung. He described the shadow as the unconscious container, where we hide all the parts of ourselves that we deem unacceptable. It is where we repress the personality traits, the emotions, and the desires that we were taught were bad, wrong, selfish, or unlovable by our family, our culture, and ourselves. We all have a shadow. It is a natural part of being human. Now, here is where this connects directly to your astrological algorithm. The most challenging aspects in your chart or squares, your oppositions, your difficult placements of Saturn or Pluto are not random flaws or cosmic punishments. They are a precise, personalized map to your shadow. They point directly to the specific energies and archetypes that you, personally, have been conditioned to judge, fear, and disown. And the recurring chaos you experience in your life, that is very often your shadow self acting out. It is the disowned part of you, starved for attention, creating external drama and crises to force you to finally look at what you have repressed. The core principle here is that you cannot heal what you will not own. The practice of shadow work is the process of debugging your code, not by trying to delete these challenging lines, but by bringing them into the light of your conscious awareness and integrating them with love and compassion. When you do this, the bug that was causing the system to crash is revealed to be a powerful, misunderstood feature. Let's look at Laura. Laura's conscious identity is built around her sun in Libra in the 7th house. She is a nice person. Her primary goal is to be a good, fair, and harmonious partner. She avoids conflict and prides herself on her ability to be diplomatic. However, her chart contains a major chaos hotspot. Her Libra sun is in a tight square to Pluto, the planet of power, and control, which is in Capricorn in her 10th house of career. This Pluto represents a deep, powerful, instinctual drive for authority, ambition, and control in her professional life. Because this raw, ambitious Plutonian energy feels so contrary to her nice girl identity, she has pushed it deep into her shadow. She tells herself, wanting power is bad. Being ambitious is unfeminine and ruthless. And because she has disowned this part of herself, she has to experience it somewhere. So, she projects it. Laura's career is a constant source of chaotic drama. She consistently attracts and works for bosses whom she perceives as power-hungry, controlling tyrants. She feels like a perpetual victim to their ambition, complaining to her friends about how her tyrannical boss is making her life miserable. She has no idea she is looking in a mirror. Her boss is simply acting out the powerful, authoritative energy that she has refused to own in herself. Then, Laura begins the courageous journey of shadow work. Perhaps in her journal she is prompted to write about her relationship to power. At first, she writes about how much she dislikes it, but she is invited to go deeper. She is asked to admit to a time she secretly enjoyed seeing a rival at work fail. She is asked to fantasize about what she would do if she were in charge. Slowly, painfully, she begins to admit the truth, if only to herself. A part of her is ambitious. A part of her does crave control and authority. A part of her wants to win. This is the heroic moment of integration. She stops judging this Plutonian part of herself as evil and begins to see it as a source of untapped strength. And as she begins to own her own ambition, a miracle happens. Her external world begins to shift. She stops needing her boss to be a tyrant, because she is no longer asking him to carry her disowned power. She starts to speak with more authority in meetings. She finds the courage to pitch a project that she herself would lead. She learns to wield her own Pluto power, and because it is now integrated with her conscious Libra sun, she wields it with fairness, integrity, and a focus on justice. The square that was the source of all her career chaos has now become the source of her greatest gift: the ability to be a powerful and fair leader. The bug has become her most valuable feature. Shadow work is the path to wholeness. It is the process of reclaiming the vast reserves of energy you have been using to keep parts of yourself locked away. It is not about becoming your shadow. It is about bringing your shadow into the light so that you can become your full, integrated, and authentic self. This work requires gentle courage. Let's take the first small step by peering softly into your own shadow. Thought-provoking question. What is a quality in other people that you judge most harshly? Is it selfishness, laziness, arrogance? Now, can you imagine, just for a moment, a situation where possessing a small, healthy dose of that very quality might actually serve you or help you achieve a worthy goal? Maybe a little selfishness would help you set better boundaries. Maybe a little laziness would allow you to finally rest. That quality you judge so harshly in others holds a key to a room in your own soul that you have locked long ago. Shadow work is simply the act of gently turning that key. You have taken the courageous and essential step of turning to face your shadow, of beginning the sacred work of reclaiming the disowned parts of yourself. This is the path to wholeness, the process of debugging the old painful patterns that have generated chaos in your past. This is the healing of your history. Now, standing in this place of greater wholeness and self-acceptance, we can finally and fully turn our gaze forward. We can move from healing the old code to consciously writing new code for the future you desire. We will now explore how you can become a co-creator of your reality by actively and strategically working with your algorithm's greatest strengths. For a long time, the world of manifestation has been dominated by a hustle and grind mentality. It's a philosophy that often encourages us to identify our biggest weaknesses and attack them head-on, to push against our walls until they crumble from sheer force. And while there is a place for discipline and effort, this approach is often a recipe for burnout and frustration, because it asks us to lead with the most difficult parts of our own programming. But there is a more graceful, more effective, and more joyful way. It is the way of aligning your intentions with your innate energetic design. It is the way of flow. The main insight is this: the most powerful and sustainable way to manifest your desires is to lead with your strengths, your trines, and sextiles. Think about it. If you are trying to get a heavy boulder rolling, do you start by trying to shove it up the steepest, most difficult part of the hill, which is represented by your squares and oppositions? Or do you find the gentle grassy slope where the path is clear and the momentum is easy to build, which is represented by your trines? When you consciously activate your areas of natural talent and flow, you build positive momentum. The process feels joyful and affirming, which fills up your energetic reserves and builds your confidence. This surplus of positive energy then gives you the strength and resilience to navigate your more challenging aspects with grace, rather than with grim determination. You let the easy parts of your algorithm do the initial heavy lifting. Let's imagine a man named Daniel. Daniel is working in a stable but soul-crushing corporate job, and his deepest desire is to become a professional musician. Now, Daniel knows his chart. He knows his chaos hotspot is a difficult square between his Mars and his Saturn. His drive and passion Mars are in constant friction with his sense of discipline, fear, and self-doubt. Saturn, following the hustle approach, Daniel might decide to attack this square head-on. He would force himself into a grueling, rigid practice schedule, treating his passion like a punishment. He would feel that Saturnian restriction weighing on his Martian drive every single day. The process would feel like a joyless slog. He would likely burn out, confirm his Saturnian belief that he doesn't have what it takes, and give up on his dream. He tried to start by pushing the boulder up the steepest part of the hill. But now let's try the path of flow. Daniel also knows that his chart contains a beautiful flowing trine between his Venus, the planet of art and beauty, and his Neptune, the planet of divine inspiration and imagination. This is his superpower. This is his gentle, grassy slope. So, Daniel decides on a new strategy. He will lead with his trine. Instead of starting with a punishing practice schedule, his first step is simply to play. He sets aside time each week to connect with that Neptune-Venus energy, to simply allow beautiful, inspired music to flow through him, with no goal other than the joy of creating it. The process feels magical and effortless. He is filling his well ease, getting the boulder rolling on the easy path. And from this place of joyful, inspired momentum, a ripple effect begins. Because he is creating such beautiful music, Venus-Neptune, he naturally attracts other talented musicians who want to collaborate. The magnetic power of Venus. Now he's in a band surrounded by supportive energy, and because he is so deeply in love with the music he is creating, the act of practicing Mars no longer feels like a grim duty Saturn. It feels like a joyful act of devotion to bring his inspired vision to life. Do you see what has happened? He has used the powerful, positive pull of his trine to provide the energy and motivation he needed to consciously work with the push of his square. He is manifesting from a place of flow, not force. He is co-creating with the universe by using the best tools in his own toolbox. This is a strategic and conscious process you can apply to any goal. First, get clear on what you want to create. Second, look back at the natural gift you identified within yourself, that thing that comes so easily to you. That is your primary tool. That is your starting point. Third, identify your biggest internal obstacle, that familiar feeling of stop-go or inner conflict. Now, you can form a conscious strategy. I will use my natural gift for your trine to help me build the momentum. I need to navigate my challenge of your square as I move toward my goal. This is how you turn your astrological knowledge into a practical, powerful, and personalized strategy for creating the life you desire. You stop fighting against your own code and start using its most elegant and powerful features to achieve your aims. So let's turn our gaze to your own beautiful future. Thought-provoking question. Think of a goal or a desire you have for your future. Now, recall the natural gift you identified in yourself earlier, that thing that feels easy and joyful for you. How could you use that specific gift as the first step or the primary strategy to move toward your goal? How can you let your easiest path lead the way? Let that be your starting point. Let joy be your compass. Lead with what is flowing, and you will find you have all the strength you need to navigate the places where the current is strong. You are the coder. It's time to write the most beautiful program you can imagine. You now hold the beautiful and practical tools of conscious co-creation. You have learned how to identify your algorithm's greatest strengths, your areas of innate grace, and how to lead with that flow to build the future you desire. This is the joyful, forward-looking work of writing new code. But as we come to the close of our deep journey together, there is one final master key that I want to place in your hands. It is the key that unlocks the full potential of this entire system. It is the key that transforms all this knowledge from a set of intellectual techniques into a deeply embodied state of being. This master key, the ultimate source of peace, is radical self-acceptance. We began this journey by wanting to find a reason for our personal chaos, by seeking to understand the hidden algorithm that generates our recurring struggles, and we have done that. We have dissected the code, we have identified the bugs, and we have learned how to navigate the system with more awareness. But the ultimate goal of this journey was never to fix you, because you are not and never have been broken. Your natal chart is not a problem to be solved. It is a sacred design to be lived. Your algorithm, with all its elegant trines and all its frustrating squares, is perfect for the unique curriculum your soul chose for this lifetime. The final and most profound insight is this. True mastery arrives not when you eliminate your challenges, but when you learn to love and accept them as the sacred source of your unique genius. The chaos you have experienced was never a mistake. It was the grit that has been polishing you into a diamond. The journey from chaos to co-creation is, at its heart, a journey from self-judgment to self-acceptance. It is the process of looking at the most difficult, painful, and challenging parts of your own code and finally being able to say with all your heart, "Thank you. You are an essential part of me. You have made me who I am." Let's return one last time to Laura, our character with the challenging square between her peace-loving Libra sun and her power-driven Pluto. Remember her old chaos? She was trapped in a state of victimhood, constantly attracting tyrannical bosses who mirrored her own disowned ambition and power. She was at war with herself, and her outer world reflected that war. But now, picture Laura today. She has done the work. She has engaged in the mindfulness. She has faced her shadow, and she has begun to consciously create from her strengths. She is now the founder of her own successful mediation firm, helping corporations resolve complex conflicts. Let's watch her in action. She is leading a tense negotiation. Her Libra sun is in its full glory. She is graceful, diplomatic, and ensures that everyone in the room feels heard and respected. She creates a container of fairness. But then, one party tries to use a manipulative tactic to gain an unfair advantage. The old Laura would have shrunk, avoided the conflict, or felt like a victim. But the integrated Laura is different. In that moment, her Pluto rises. Not as an unconscious destructive force, but as a calm, clear, unshakable authority. She pauses, looks the person in the eye, and with no anger, but with immense power, she says, "We're not going to do that. Let's bring this back to a place of integrity." She is no longer the nice girl at war with her inner power bitch. She is a whole, integrated woman who is both fair and powerful. She is a just and strong leader. And as she drives home from that successful negotiation, she might have a quiet moment of reflection. She might think back to all those terrible bosses, all those chaotic power struggles, and she might feel a surprising wave, not of resentment, but of gratitude. She realizes that without the relentless pressure of that Sun-Pluto square, she never would have been forced to develop this unique, powerful, and world-changing skill set. The bug she once hated has become her most celebrated feature. Her chaos has been alchemized into her calling. This is the ultimate destination of our journey. It is the moment when you can look at your entire algorithm, the easy parts, the hard parts, the light, the shadow, and see it all as a divinely intelligent system designed for your ultimate empowerment. Your sun gives you your purpose, your moon gives you your depth, your Mercury gives you your voice, your Venus gives you your heart, your Mars gives you your courage, your conjunctions give you your focus, your squares give you your strength, your oppositions give you your wisdom, your trines give you your grace. It all belongs. It is all you. And so we bring our journey full circle, right back to where we started, with your own personal brand of chaos. But this time, I invite you to look at it with new eyes. Thought-provoking question. Look back at the personal brand of chaos you named in the very beginning of our journey. Can you now, from this new, more compassionate perspective, Find a seed of gratitude for it? What incredible strength, unique gift, or profound wisdom has that specific challenge forged within you that you would not possess otherwise? Sit with that question. Let the answer rise up from the deepest part of your being. In that gratitude, you will find the final key. You will stop blaming the stars and start recognizing that you are, and always have been, a star yourself, containing the entire, beautiful, chaotic cosmos within you. In our time together today, we've journeyed from the common frustration of blaming a planet in retrograde to discovering the intricate, personal algorithm that governs your life. We've seen that this cosmic code, your unique combination of planets, signs, aspects, and houses, isn't a rigid fate, but a dynamic map of your soul's curriculum. We learned that the challenges are not bugs, but features designed for your growth, and that your natural talents are superpowers waiting to be wielded with conscious intention. You have learned that you are the ultimate authority in your own life, with the power to move from reaction to response, and to alchemize your chaos into your calling. For the rest of this week, I invite you to meditate on this one thought. My greatest challenge is the source of my greatest strength. Don't try to analyze or solve anything. Just let that simple, powerful idea settle into your bones. Let it recode your relationship with your own struggles. Remember, the universe is not happening to you. It is happening through you. You are a perfect expression of its intelligence, and all the wisdom you seek is already encoded within. That's all for today. Keep trusting your intuition, and I'll see you in the next one.